All right. So, hello, everyone. I hope you all are doing well, and a very, very good morning if you all are joining in from India. If you are joining away from India, if it's afternoon for you, good afternoon, good evening, good night, or whenever you're gonna watch this live stream at. So, first of all, I would definitely like to welcome each and everyone who has joined us. I can already see a lot of hype in the chat. People are joining in from different parts of the country. That's really, really good to know. That too on a morning, and that too in a festive season. So I'm quite happy with the kind of audience we have gathered today for this particular virtual edition of our Hacktoberfest event. So, quickly, for all of those who haven't yet mentioned in the chat, go ahead and let us know where you all are joining in from, which city, or what time is it for you if you're joining in from away from India. Feel free to let us know that as well. And yes, I see people from Muzaffarpur, Bihar, Chandigarh, Zilla, Ghaziabad for sure. It's good to know people from Shillong as well. That's really amazing. Someone is directly joining from college. Hi Dipendra, thank you so much. Saturday को भी college हाँ कुछ लोगों के होते हैं. So yes, why not? Wasn't able to attend in-person event, but now here, that's fantastic. The entire purpose of ours behind putting this event together, like the virtual one, was because many people were not able to join us for the in-person, right? And of course, due to logistic reason, we weren't able to have like people in good numbers at our venue as well. But with the live stream, with the virtual event, that's not the case. We can have like any number of people who can join us. So that is why we thought of let's bring the same edition of Hacktoberfest event, but in the virtual mode. So that is why we are hosting this one, and we planned it in very short notice. I remember the in person was on 16th, and we were just wondering what we can do, and then on 18th or 19th, we decided that we should do a virtual one as well. And of course, because virtual one was quick, easy thing, and we had all the logistics support with us, we thought that this would be the best thing for our community. So why not? And people are joining from Gurugram, Delhi, of course, many who joined us in person as well. Someone from Jaipur, hi Gaurav. Many people from my city as well. I see Chauhan Kulraj Singh, and I saw Dhruvi as well joining in. That's really good to know. I was busy with my exam. No worries. I hope you can join us for the entire live stream today, and we can talk a lot about different stuffs around open source, Hacktoberfest, and other projects as well, which we're gonna talk about in a bit. But happy Diwali in advance to everyone. Happy Dhanteras. Thank you so much for wishing that, Gaurav, in the chat. And Kolkata, that's really good. Thank you so much. Shivang joining in from Jamnagar. Hi Patel Jain. You are from Gujarat, but which city? Let us know that as well. Didn't get accepted into physical. I know. I'm so sorry we couldn't have you, Krish. I look forward to have you in any of our upcoming in-person events. Hopefully we can have you over there. But I'm so sorry we couldn't have you this time. But I'm glad that you could join us for the virtual one. That's really good. Bhavnagar, really great. Perfect. Awesome. So thank you so much, everyone, once again for putting all the excitement in the chat, and keep that chat running with all of your excitement. Just drop in your favorite emojis in the chat. That will allow me to understand how energetic you are for this particular live stream, and also it will give me more energy to speak continuously, and maybe engage you in some meaningful conversations along the line of our agenda today. But talking about Hacktoberfest, what is that all about? We have one talk about it in our agenda, but to summarize it quickly, it's a month-long celebration of open source, which happens in the month of October. But that doesn't mean that open source contributions can only be done in this month, right? It's like you can do it anytime. But to get started, of course, this could be an opportunity for you to get started with open source, to get started with different contributions around different projects which are out there, around various organizations or just some other random projects. But apart from that, we hosted this in-person event, and that was definitely a lot of fun. We get to interact with a lot of new community members, a lot of beginners, and many were able to get started with their open source and Hacktoberfest journey. So I'm sure that this could be an opportunity for many of you who joined us today as well in this live stream, that you'll be starting your open source journey today, right? So a quick question for everyone in the chat. You can type in whatever way you want. You can just let us know in the chat that have you participated or contributed in open source before. You can just type in like, I have contributed in open source, or you can just say you are a complete beginner, or this will be your first time. You can type in anything which you want in the chat, and I'm just looking out for your responses. At the moment, Shivam says yes, which means like Shivam is a beginner, I'll assume. What about others? Yes, Avnit says yep. Arnav has contributed in the past. That's really good to know. Uh, Apup says open source is love. Definitely. Forum from IIT JEE. Nice. He's a beginner. That's really good. I've contributed in open source. Harshvardhan says Gaurav is a beginner, and a lot of other people in the chat. Fantastic. That's really good to know that you all are coming here from different levels. That allows us to understand that you all are open to learn something new. You all are open to gain knowledge in whichever way you can. So I appreciate you all joining us for this particular live stream. Of course, many of us are beginners, so this is an opportunity for us to know more about open source, how we can contribute towards it, and how we can get started. So I am happy that you are in the very right live stream. And how many of you all have already contributed to Hacktoberfest in the past? You can just type in which year you contributed. For example, I contributed in 2018-19. I remember I started in 2018. You can also let us know in the chat when you started contributing to Hacktoberfest, or this is your first year contributing to Hacktoberfest. You can let us know that as well. 2021, that's fantastic. For many of you, I know you started it this year itself, in 2022. I guess 7 days ago. That's really good. How many of you already completed the Hacktoberfest 4 PR thing? Though we are not limiting ourselves to only 4 PRs, we'll make sure that we can do beyond that as well, because our target is not to complete Hacktoberfest but to contribute towards open source. First time from this year. That's really awesome. Perfect. So getting to know you was something I had up in my mind, and now that I know where you all are coming from, what kind of experience you're bringing for this live stream, I'm really happy and satisfied with the kind of audience we have gathered today. And this entire live stream is going to be beginner focused and beginner friendly, so don't you worry about anything. If I need to walk you through the agenda quickly, it is also there on our Luma form. So in case you haven't checked it out yet, I would recommend you all to check out. If you go to our Luma link, you'll find an overall agenda. We are running a bit late, but that's fine, I guess. We'll first jump onto the session of Into the World of Open Source with Hacktoberfest, where Ayush will be guiding you what open source is, what Hacktoberfest is, and what are some things you need to keep in mind. Then we have a session by Apprite, which is more of like a workshop. Hemantika will be joining us from Apprite team, and she'll be guiding you towards your first contribution to Apprite. Then we have a small talk/workshop by Pishwajit, and he'll be guiding you and letting you all know about all the awesome Apprite snippets where you can contribute to and get some experience as well. Then we have a Milli Search project showcase by Shivay. He'll guide you with what that project is all about and how you can get started with it, how you can contribute, what are some basic things which you require before you actually get started. We have a little talk from Ishika, and she'll be guiding you with career opportunities with open source. So of course, once we start with open source, we become very curious, right? That what after this? What after I've started contributing to open source? Can I earn through it? Are there any opportunities I can grab from open source? Yes, there are many. So Ishika will be guiding you with each and every opportunities you can grab along the line of your career with open source. Then we have a workshop from Prakash where you'll get to know about how you can contribute and build on top of Solana. Then we'll end the live stream, we'll have a lunch break, and then we'll shift to the Discord. So for all of those who haven't joined our Discord yet, what I would recommend you all to do is just join us on Discord. I'm sending the link in the chat. And we have a Hacktoberfest'22 channel over there and a different voice channels as well. So from 3 to 4, we will be jumping in different breakout rooms or voice channels on Discord. We have a voice channel for Git and GitHub where we can help you with getting started with Git, basics of Git and GitHub. So in case you're stuck there, we will cover that in the voice channel on our Discord. We have a breakout with AppWrite, Solana, Millisearch, all of these projects which we are going to go through in today's agenda. So in case you're stuck anywhere, you want to contribute towards those projects, you can reach out to us in that breakout room and we'll help you getting your first contributions directly, one-to-one. Then we have two more additional breakout rooms. One is for low code and documentation. In case you are not very much familiar with code or any specific coding language, you can always contribute towards low code repositories in open source, and you can always contribute towards documentation. So we'll also help you guide how you can do that in that particular breakout room. And then there's last one, which is miscellaneous. So anything random, anything apart from all the other breakout rooms, we can discuss in that one. So perfect. That was something about the voice channels and or / breakout rooms on our Discord. So we will end the live stream, we will disperse for lunch, and we will join at 3 once again on our Discord. So I would highly recommend you all to join us on Discord, because that will be more of like a conversation, right? And you all will be able to talk, chat with our speakers, chat with our mentors, chat with our organizing team as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all in those breakout rooms as well. And if you haven't joined our Discord, once again I repeat, you can join us. I will bring up the banner for you. I've also shared the link in the chat, so you can join us straight away over there. Cool. Pretty much one quick thing I would say, we'll get started with the agenda, but before that, in case you want to earn some cool swags, we are running this Twitter challenge. You can take a screenshot at any time, any moment throughout this live stream and tweet about it. You can use the hashtag #HackThisFall Hacktoberfest, and you can tag @HackThisFall, and that's it. Once you do that, you'll automatically enter the giveaway. To one or two people, will be giving away GitHub t-shirt coupon code, and we'll be selecting random winners and we'll be sending them a kit actually. So for all of those who joined us in person, they have already received this kit. So they received this t-shirt and a diary. It's getting blurred over here, but you get my point. It's there on socials. You get to win yourself this t-shirt, Hacktoberfest #HackThisFall t-shirt, and some cool swags, custom swags by #HackThisFall, and we'll be selecting those winners very, very randomly. Cool. So I guess pretty much, in case you are stuck somewhere, feel free to reach out to me or any of our organizing team members on Discord or in the YouTube chat. We'll be more than happy to help you with that. Arnav is asking, will there be swags? Yes, Arnav, I just mentioned that you can tweet about this live stream. You can take a screenshot. Maybe now you can take a screenshot and just post about it on Twitter. And you can use the hashtag #HackThisFall Hacktoberfest, and you can tag us. And that's how we consider your input to this giveaway which we are doing. So one of the person gets the GitHub tee, and the other random chosen winners will get a swag pack from #HackThisFall. Cool. Enough of me speaking. Now I'd like to invite Ayush on the stage so that he can guide us through, or maybe take us into the world of open source with Hacktoberfest. So Ayush, here we have you. Ayush, welcome on the stream. How are you doing?
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah. Hey folks, how are you doing? And just drop in chat how excited you are for the session. We are here for bringing you the virtual edition of Hacktoberfest event as well. So I'll be looking in the chats as well. Do mention.
Yeah, I see a lot of folks here saying hi to Ayush. Ayush, would you like to respond to them? Maybe say a hi again.
Hey Krish. So Krish is an old friend of mine. I see another Ayush as well.
Yeah, but Ayush with a single A. Cool
Hey
then,
Ashwardhan.
Ayush. The stage is all yours. I'll quickly bring up your slide if that's ready.
Yep.
All right then. Here we have it, and all the very best. Enjoy, everyone.
Yeah. So no, it's my first live stream. Pretty much, no, not comfortable with the StreamYard, but we'll manage. So let's start with the session. It's intro to open source and Hacktoberfest. Uh, so let me just give myself an intro. My name is Ayush Sharma. I'm a student in pursuing computer science engineering. I am uh, I have worked as a program manager in a company named Sema. I am a Microsoft Learn student ambassador, Cube Simplify ambassador, and I love contributing to open source, and I also believe in the power of community. So that's all about myself. Now let's see what all we will discuss about in this particular session. So we'll discuss about what is open source. We'll discuss about Hacktoberfest, also types of contribution, good repo, bad repo, what are good contributions and what are bad contributions. I will also help you finding Hacktoberfest repos, why you should know why someone should pursue open source, and then we'll finally conclude. So moving on to the first slide is what is open source, right? So while I was preparing for an offline session, I had this tweet that how will you introduce someone to open source? And luckily, I managed to get so many of replies and responses. So there were folks, you know, who had so many good answers. But let me just brief you what open source is. So open source are just software, or they are code which is released under a license in an open source world, right? So it's basically the code which you can copy, you can modify, you can use as per your need, and it's under a license, for example a GNU or Apache license, right? So these are the codes which help you in modifying your projects as well, or maybe you can make a project and upload it on GitHub. That is also considered as an open source software, or if it's under a license, right? So if you are someone contributing to GitHub and you are making projects, there is an license section, make sure to check that out. That will it's beneficial to have a code under a license, right? So that was all about open source. There is various things about open source. There are various projects which you can contribute to, like let me take an example of the very basic project, that's React, right? It's by Facebook. It's also there. It's of full stack, right? So it's a React is a framework library by JavaScript, right? So you can contribute to it. So there are various similar projects there out there on GitHub and other platform as well. You can just check it out and start contributing from today. Now next is what is about Hacktoberfest, right? So Hacktoberfest is an event hosted by DigitalOcean. It's an annual event. Like it comes in every year's October, right? So it's a 1 month period of contribution. Here folks with different projects, they mention a label of Hacktoberfest for the folks who are very new to the open source world, or even intermediate, right? So the basic idea of this event is to make folk aware of open source and help them start with their open source journey. It's as I mentioned, it's an annual event. It's running now as well in the month of October. If you are someone who has not started with Hacktoberfest, you can maybe jump in now. Or if you are someone who has already contributed, made PRs, maybe you can drop in chat that in which projects you have contributed to, or how valuable PR have you made, right? Or is there any project which you can help the other folks to contribute to and help them with the PRs, right? And this event has been run for past 9 years by DigitalOcean, and it's a very popular event, right? Many folks are waiting for this particular area or particular time of the year to help folks to get involved in open source and make wonders in open source, right? So and Hacktoberfest is all about giving to folks, and there are various communities which run an event around Hacktoberfest, right? So uh, we have an example right now. We are also running an event for Hacktoberfest. We have run an in-person event. Now we are going for an offline event, right? So there are various events which are run around Hacktoberfest, and helping folks to get started with open source, right? So this is your chance. Just open GitHub, search for Hacktoberfest, and filter the projects around your tech stack and start contributing, right? Now let's move ahead with the slide. So the next is, are you participating in Hacktoberfest? Do mention in the chats if you are someone participating in Hacktoberfest. How can you participate, right? There are three ways a person can participate in Hacktoberfest. The first is maintainer, right? You can be a maintainer of a project. You can help the folks, or you can help yourself by reviewing the PRs and merging it into the project. Also helping folks by giving them the knowledge of right practices you should follow for contributing to a project, or similar practices, right? You can So this is basically maintaining an open source project, and giving an overview of entire PRs and all. Now the next thing is, if you are a beginner, right? And let's say if you have got to know about Hacktoberfest or open source just now, so you can also contribute by uh, giving small contributions, such as learning the tech stack while contributing to a project, right? if you have uh, if you have like never made a PR, right? So this is your chance. This is the time you can start learning about open source, and you know just give it and or start contributing, right? The next is, if you are an active contributor, this is it's a piece of cake for you, right? So if you are already contributing to a project and it has an Hacktoberfest level, this is a chance for you, right? You can maybe explore more issues, explore more PRs, right? And maybe not only just contribute by making PRs, you can also create some good issues, and then help other folks by by helping them to make a PR. So Hacktoberfest is not only about making contribution; it's also about helping, right? This is what communities are here for, right? We are here to help you to get started with open source and with open source, right? So this is your chance. Just learn a tech stack, just start contributing. And I would recommend you not only to just contribute in the month of October. Open source is it's open for an complete year, right? So why to only contribute in October? You can contribute in whole year. If you are contributing to a project, I would recommend you to stick to the project. You might get good opportunities if you are actively contributing to a project, right? So just keep these things in mind, and just jump in and start contributing. There are various issues waiting for you, right? So this is a QR code. This QR code is it takes you to the Hacktoberfest website. I'll give you 30 seconds to scan this, right? You can scan it, or you can just type Hacktoberfest on Google, and you'll the first link is Hacktoberfest website link. You can maybe go in there, or no, you can see it on the screen. You can just type this link, and then you will be headed to the website. All right. I hope you have scanned. You can let me know in the chat if no, if you have scanned it, and if you are on the Hacktoberfest side. All right. So I'll move forward now. So the next slide is about this website, right? So if you have scanned the QR code, you will be here in this website, right? So it is this is the Hacktoberfest website. As you can see, the registrations are open, right? So if you have scanned, you will be you will land on this homepage of Hacktoberfest. Next thing comes is the progress, right? So here is another core team member of Hack This Fall, Biswa. Uh, when we were making the slides, we had the progress bar, and this is the progress bar of his contribution to Hacktoberfest, right? Uh, if I get the time, I will also open the progress of mine, right? So this is the slide. I will not jump and because we are already short on time. Uh, so now let's move to the types of contributions. Now we know about open source. We know about what is Hacktoberfest. Now, what are the various types of contribution we can uh, do in Hacktoberfest, or not only in this month, or in the complete year, right? So there are code contributions, there are non-code contributions, there are low code contributions. Then you can write blogs for folks, right? For the tools, there are videos you can make. You can help in communities. There are Twitter threads, which are also a trend, podcasts, and organizing events, right? So if we talk a little about code contributions, it's mainly if you are if there is an issue or a bug related to an event, right, related to a project, right? So you are contributing to maybe fix that bug, or creating an issue which is something, giving a new feature to a project, right? So that is basically a code contribution, which you are basically writing the hard code, right, and then going for a PR. That is a code contribution, right? And no code contributions are something like if you are improving the documentation of a project, or maybe helping in the contribution guidelines of a project. So this is what it leads to no code contributions. Now if I talk about low code contributions, right? So this is something which is a partially code and partially no code, right? So low code contributions, they contain code, but the amount of the code contributions are very less in this. It's more of a documentation type. So these are low code contributions. Then you can write blogs, right? If you are no learning a tool, or if you are learning any technology, you can help folks by writing blogs. uh, I remember when I was learning Linux, I wrote a blog on essential Linux commands, and I didn't knew that I was helping folks, or it was just I learned and I wrote. So and then a few folks told me that this is also a part of open source. If you are writing a blog and it's helping folks, right? The folks are referring your blog, and then implementing the same practices in their daily or in their tech life. So this is also a contribution to open source. So you can maybe write a blog, you can always make videos. So I started making videos in my YouTube channel as well. Now I am doing the live stream. I'm also this is a kind of video. It will be recorded, and there it will be there for you. So this is also a contribution to open source. You can there are various ways to contribute to open source. You just have to get started with things. Now you can help in communities, right? So if you are contributing to a project, there are various there is a community link to it. Or if you go to GitHub, right, and if you go to a project, there's a discussion tab in GitHub, or there is a Slack community which is linked to a project. You can involve in community. If you are someone who is familiar with the project, you can maybe help the folks who are new to the project by setting up the project, by helping them with uh, very basic steps. So this is also a contribution, right? You can maybe write Twitter threads. Twitter threads are the trend, right, nowadays, right? So we see very good influencers, or very the folks who are very good in tech, or a particular tech stack. They are nowadays writing Twitter threads for the folks who are actively using Twitter to maybe help them with starting, or the folks who are already in a good level to refer back to the basics of a tech stack. So Twitter threads are very popular nowadays. You can if you are someone using Twitter, you can definitely take out a time of a minute or two, and then reference to a Twitter thread. They help you a lot. Now the next thing is podcasts. I have mentioned Twitter Spaces in bracket here, because again Twitter Spaces are very it's in very trend, right? So we see nowadays every Twitter space is there related to a technology. Whether it's be open source, it can be Kubernetes, or there are various topics on which Twitter spaces are held. So if you are someone speaking on a Twitter space that is also contributing to open source, you are helping folks to get clear with their doubts, or get started with things. Now the next thing is organizing events. So you can maybe help the folks by organizing events, uh, as we are doing right now, right? We have two events now. We have already organized an offline event. Now we are doing an virtual event. So this is also contribution to open source, right? So these are the various things you can do for contributing to open source, right? So now let's move to the next slide. So now let's see what are good and bad repos, right? So let's just have some points on what are good repos. uh, so good repos are the ones who have or add value to the project. If you are going for a PR, does it help the maintainer to uplift the project? uh, these are the various the basic things which should be there for a good repo, right? Does The first point which is here is that does it add any value? It's very very important. That does it add any value to open source world, or is it solving any real world issue? So if a repo is of a project which is solving a very good real world issue, it is considered as a good repo, right? uh, there is also a point like if it's following all the community standards or not, right? So there's a section, or the tab, insights tab, in which the community standard point is there. There are various things mentioned in the community standards tab. If all the things are being followed, this is considered as a good repo, right? So there are various other things as well, right? There are things like if you are working for a project, are there good releases, good releases being delivered for a project? There are various measures which you can look to for a good repo. And no if you no if they lack in any of these, not any of these or many of these points, this can be considered as a bad repo as well. Now, does it solve any problems, right? If it is solving any problem in as I mentioned in real world, this can be considered as a good repo, right? Is it useful to developers or society? Another point which we can link to real world, that is it solving any real world issue, or is it useful to folks who are contributing to the project, or is it solving any very good very big problem? So it is a good repo. The community standard points is already been mentioned that if it's following all the community standard points, then it's a good repo. And the last point was, is it really helpful to maintainer? So then it is a good repo. And if two or more points here are lacking in a repo, it may be considered as a bad or partial bad repo, right? So now let's move ahead with the slide. So this is a bad repo, right? As you can see, there is when we were searching for community standard, there were no any point of community standard was not followed. And you can also see the name t-shirt ka chakkar babu bhaiya. So it's like they this repo was only made for earning swags, right? This repo was tagged under Hacktoberfest, right? And they were asking folks to contribute to earn a t-shirt, which Hacktoberfest gives, right? So this is a bad repo. Don't if you are someone who is new to the open source, right, just have a look or brief of a repo, and then start contributing to it. I have a meme here as well, deva re deva. Right? So this is an example of bad repo. Now let's move ahead. This is another example of bad repo, right? तुम सिली थिंग्स कर रहे हो यार, मतलब अगर तुम इस रेपो पे कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहे हो तो तुम सिली थिंग्स कर रहे हो, राइट? बी a good contributor, be active contributor, right? If you are someone who is new to open source, try to contribute to a project which actually makes a change in real world, right? This is a good repo. So the project name is Hopscotch. As you can see, there are perfect labels, there are community standards which are followed, there is contributing.md code of conduct file, right? There are when I visited this project, there were proper labels for issues and PRs as well. And no so if you are someone who is new to open source, search or filter projects like these and start contributing. This will also help in enhancing your skills at a very good rate, rather than contributing to the repos which you are previously shown, right? So now, what are good contributions and what are bad contributions, right? So if you are someone who is just fixing typos, I heard from a Red Hat maintainer that while there were folks who contributed to the project by just adding a full stop in the line or in the documentation. So this is not a good contribution, right? If you are just here or contributing to add a full stop, that doesn't make any sense. It's not a good contribution. So if you are fixing typos, it's good, but making typos and fixing again is more bad, right? If you are if there is a genuine mistake in the documentation, you can ask the maintainer to fix the typo, right? But if you are making the typo and then fixing it, that's not then open source is not for you. The next thing is, if you are adding emojis, full stop, or 11 quotes, as I mentioned, no, you are not. Open source is for the folks make their project open source to seek help from folks, or help folks who are contributing to open source world. If you are making more hard for them to maybe review a PR or help you with contribution, it is only it will lead your graph to a downfall, but nothing else. So if you are someone who is adding emojis or full stop or 11 code, just stop doing it right now. You can there are various good projects which you can contribute to. You can this is your time. You can maybe shift and learn good practices and start contributing. Making PR just for the sake of green skies is nothing. No, it's not good. I see many GitHub profiles which the folks who they make contributions every day in their DSA repos to just keep the greenery in their profile. So this is not what you call it as contributing to open source, right? The, folks contribute to DSA repos and win Hacktoberfest swags. So what is the what is the problem that DSA repo is solving? You can maybe have a main DSA repo and then you can post all the solutions and questions there. But creating separate DSA repos and then contributing to it doesn't make any sense, right? So you can. There are various good projects as well. Just filter it out and start contributing to a good project to make a value, right? Now, just pointer here, make separate branches when you are contributing to open source. It will help the maintainer. देख रहा है विनोद कैसे PR के नाम पर इमोजी डाल रहे हैं. So don't do these things, right? Be a good contributor, right? So this is a bad PR. See how many long list of commits you use. This is very horrible to review, and there is no description as well provided. There are no labels, no assignee, no reviewers. So this is definitely a bad PR. Be away from the folks such as these. Don't be one of these, right? Be a good contributor. Make good PRs. If you see this, it has a good PR template, but no information is provided. Again, no labels, no assignees, no reviewers. So avoid. Try doing. Just don't do this type of contributions, right? This is an example of good PR. Again, Biswajit, very good contributor. So you see there is a proper description provided. There is a proper screenshot of the problems or the issue which he should have taken. So when he is going for a PR, he has provided complete description. He has labels on it. He has reviewers, right? So also the title of the PR is it's specifying that it's related to dogs. So this is basic steps which you should follow to make a PR. Kya baat hai? Now another example of good PR, right? This is Paras, another Hack This Fall member, right? So again, he has explained all the things which the issue should have. All the description is completely provided. There is also mentioned that it's a fix, right? So maybe he is trying to fix a bug, right? Just follow these practices and then you can be a good contributor. Now finding, just a second, I went too far, right? So finding Hacktoberfest repos, You can search by searching on the GitHub. Just type in Hacktoberfest. There will be so many projects which you can see with the Hacktoberfest label, right? See the free code camp. It's the biggest learning platform, right? So they also provide a repo for Hacktoberfest, right? So just type Hacktoberfest there. There will be so many projects you can filter out according to you, according to yourself, right? According to your tech stack. So this is a good approach to find Hacktoberfest repos. Now, why open source? So वो भी ये कहती थी, मतलब ठीक है सब कुछ सीख लिया, अब क्यों करें open source, right? So there are various things. Some say that open source is future, but no, it's present, right? Many folks have made good into the tech industry by contributing to open source. Open source is, it's flexible. The code which is written, it can be used, it can be modified according to your needs. So it's very flexible. We have very communities, so many communities in open source, right? So this is another good approach for open source. There is speed in the code. There are always code contributions. You can modify anytime. It's got cost effective. You can you can start from very small. You can start from scratch. You can just maybe start from making a readme and then going for a project. It's edgeable, right? So these are the factors for open source, right? As you can see, I have a very good branch diagram. So I would like to conclude here, since I ran over time. Questions will take in the breakout room, right? If you have any questions, just drop in the Discord, or you can join the breakout room, right? And thanks for listening, and thank you for taking the session. Be here in the live stream for next sessions as well. So the next session is by AppWrite, which will be taken by Himantika, and it's on making your first contribution to AppWrite. So that's all. Thank you, folks, for listening.
Yeah, thank you so much. First of all, thanks Ayush for guiding us through each and everything. Well pointed out. Some of those were really important for all the beginners to know, and I'm really happy that you pointed all of those things, and that too in a fun and good way. So that was quite interactive. Thank you so much for doing that. And for all the folks in the chat, I was seeing you all interacting, asking, answering each other's question. That was really good. Krish mentioned rightly in the chat, collaboration first, code second. That's some of the tagline which I've learned from IDHub as well. So I'm happy that people are collaborating meaningfully in the chat as well while we are learning how to get started with our open source journey. Ayush, once again, thank you so much for joining us, and I'll see you in the breakout room where I'm sure that you'll be guiding a lot of other community members around the same topic. Cool then. Next up, as Ayush mentioned, we have Hemantika joining us, and I would not actually need to introduce her because she's like super active around the community as well, and we have Hemantika on the stage. Hemantika, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you, Siddharth?
All good, and I'm pretty excited with the workshop of yours, which is anything and everything around app, right? I've been hearing a lot
Yes,
of buzz on social media about people contributing towards app, right? We had a lot of good conversations at our in-person event as well. So I'm quite looking
exactly.
forward to this one.
Me too. Thank you.
Do you want me to bring up your slides quickly? Or even before
Yes.
that, you can just start with your introduction.
Yeah, definitely. So I would like to say that hi everybody, and also thanks to Siddharth for bringing up this initiative, which is very helpful for beginners, for mid-level contributors, and for everybody in the community to know about Hacktoberfest and to contribute here. And also a big thanks to everybody who joined on Saturday evening, especially those who are joining from India. I know it's festive season, so I understand that you making you joining on a weekend is basically because you love the community and you're here to learn and share it well with everybody. So today we'll be talking about. Oops, I think this is a wrong slide that I shared. Sorry, Siddharth. I think I need you to come up here.
No problem.
I'll just share my screen so that you can bring up the slide. Yep. Just a second. I think you can see my slide now, right?
Yes, we have it.
Okay.
Perfect.
Great. Thank you, and sorry everybody for the mistake there. So today we'll be talking about contributing to app, right? But it's not only just app specific things, but we'll also be covering certain things which will help you in raising a PR in general or just contributing to open source projects in general. Before that, hi, I'm Hemantika Mitra and I am a developer advocate at AppRite. And before this, I used to work at Microsoft in the Outlook and Exchange team, but the community is the core of what I do, and everything I am today, the tech skills, the people skills, everything I learned today is because of the community. So I had to convert my passion into my full-time job, and that's where I am. So below that you see is my Twitter handle, and I go by my name Hemantika Mitra on LinkedIn and other social media platforms as well. So if you have anything to talk about, be it tech, communities, or open source, or anything in general, I am always there. My DMs are always open, and if you want, you can also set up a one-to-one coffee chat with me. So yes, that's all about me. Moving forward, so these are the few things that we will be talking about today. First, what is app, right? I see in the chat section that some of you have already contributed to app, right? That's amazing. I think this time around, if you're not returning back as a contributor, you can help others contribute because we still have some more days left before we wrap up the Hacktoberfest. And next, we'll talk about why contribute to AppWrite, because there are tons of other projects, but why only AppWrite? Next, we'll talk about where do I start making your first contribution, what if you get stuck, and some useful tools to wrap up with. So yes, what is AppWrite? Maybe you can just drop in your guesses and in the chat section, or I'll be anyway explaining it to you what it is. But I still want to know what the name means to you. And if you don't know about AppWrite, so when you see the name, what does it signify or what it means to you, I'll be eager to know that. And yeah, as you can see the big blink slide, it's an open source backend server. So what we do, these are basically the list of everything that AppRed provides, but I will be explaining it to you in a layman's term, or I'll be explaining it to you as if all of us are five-year-old or in class 5, and we don't understand technology or anything, all difficult terms. So AppRed in short, it is backend as a service. So you are the person who is responsible for building the front end, but when it comes to the backend, AppRite does the job for you. So just to explain a little more, let's say when you're building a website or any mobile app as well, you can be using AppRite, and the front end, that is the nice looking button, the nice looking blocks that you have on your website, is what the front end handles. But when it comes to the complexity or the logic part, that when you click on the button, it needs to do something, it needs to log you in or it needs to authenticate you, is what the backend handles. And if you are to do it in a traditional way, there is a lot of tech stack that you need to know, and there is an exponential learning curve, and these are still being done by the amazing backend developers and the full stack developers. But what if you want to remain a front end developer, but you want to use the backend capabilities as well, and to make that job simpler for you, we have AppWrite. So AppWrite has basically all the APIs that are required for your essential backend services. I mentioned about the authentication parts. We have APIs for that. Then there is database, there are storages, functions, and everything that you need for the backend is there and is provided by AppWrite. We also have real-time events for each service. So I'll give you an example of this. This is my personal favorite. We went to a conference last month. Yes, and there we built a game similar to the the Flappy Bird game that Google has when you go offline. So since it was built by Flutter, we had Dash doing the same thing. And well, the game was built with AppWrite, so you can understand the capabilities it has. So we also had a dashboard which was showing you the live scores and who is the highest scorer and all of those. So that was in real time, and this is an example of what you can build with AppWrite and do with the real time features. Other than that, we have more than 30 plus OAuth 2 providers, and I know that there are plenty others that are yet to be contributed. So if you are willing to do that, this is a good first issue that you can contribute to, and maybe you can just look at it and start contributing. We also have many runtimes, 11 plus SDKs, and the best part about AppWrite is that it's simple, it's flexible, and the experience is consistent throughout. It's not that one service looks very different from the other. So whenever you're trying out AppWrite, you'll feel that the UI is very simple and flexible to use, and the experience is also consistent. And the best part again is that we do both server and client side integrations. So at this point, I would just say that go and try out AppWrite at appwrite.io, and then you can know more about what AppWrite provides, what it does, and what you can do with it. Moving forward, why contribute to AppWrite? While I'll be explaining it to you in just a few, but I'll still want to know that, especially from people who have contributed to AppWrite before, that why would you contribute to AppWrite? And also for somebody who is hearing about AppWrite for the first time, maybe you can tell me that if I did a good job at explaining to you what AppWrite is, and that made you want to contribute to AppWrite. But I'm still eager to know what and why will you contribute to AppWrite. And these are some of the reasons that we listed, because I believe that this is something that we work on daily, and we make sure that everybody feel welcomed here. So the first one is our community, and everybody who is present in our community or who are yet to join will realize that we have a very supportive community, and it is a core of what we do. At present, we have 10,000 plus Discord members, 26K GitHub stars, 113K Twitter followers. I think this also increased very recently. And these numbers, these are not something that we brag about, but this shows the love and support of our community. And for anybody who is in our Discord channel already, or is thinking to join a Discord channel, you'll see that even though it's a very busy server, but somebody is there to reply or respond to your questions, and it is almost instantaneously. A big shout out to Bishwa. And we also have another community member who is now an employee at AppWrite, Steven. So these two people are always there to help out for any queries when it comes to AppWrite. So you realize, right, that at the AppWrite community is not only the AppWrite employees who are coming in and helping you, but the community members, even they jump in and answer your questions. And also a small plug, while this is not written anywhere, so AppWrite is a remote company, which means that while I am awake in my time zone, there is I'll be answering your question, but when I am asleep, there is somebody from US time zone who will be there to answer your questions. So that being said, it means that you will never be a stranger in our Discord channel or in our community. Next, this is a second point. While some of you might disagree, but see it in a way that it brings an opportunity. So AppWrite is a large project. There are many contributors there. We are working on it very actively. There are many services that we provide. So at the beginning, it might be a little bit daunting for you or overwhelming for you. But when you start with the documentation first, start with the README first, and when you get to know what AppWrite does or what it can provide, you'll see that it's very easy to start, or it's very easy to get your concepts cleared out. And since it is a large project, we require help in many areas, and some of them are as simple as maybe pruning the PR, linting the code, something with helping us build some tutorials, helping us build examples. And these are just to name a few, and there are plenty others where we are looking actively for help. Just go and check it out on GitHub, or you can also find such issues from a Discord community, because at times we just say, okay, this is something that it's open, and maybe you can come in and contribute. And lastly, this is something that I do as an initiative to make sure that our community members have some fun other than the core technical stuff that we do. And it is also to, it's giving back to the community approach that we have at AppWrite. You contribute to us, you help us, build the community that we have today. So every month we host some activities. Some activities are as fun as sharing memes on social media, and we randomly select 3 winners every month, and these winners get a nice looking swag pack from us, and that is called the monthly loot. And by the way, we are still organizing the loot, and it is going on right now, and it will end on 31st October. So if you want to participate or you would like some swags, you know where to head on. Amazing. Now, the question that you all might be having, okay, now that I know what AppWrite is and why I should contribute to AppWrite, but where do I start? So here are some of the type of contributions that are open for this year's Hacktoberfest, and there are, while the fun stuff is not mentioned here, it is there. You can find it out in the GitHub issues. So starting with the first, we have code contributions, of course. You can build new APIs, you can contribute to function runtimes, SDKs, adapters. You can also build function examples, like you can build integrations, you can build some dev tools, so on and so forth. And the third one is my favorite, like you can build some demo apps, you can build games, clones, anything that you think of. I know that there are plenty of issues where we ask people to maybe make a clone of Twitter, but the backend should be built with AppWrite. These are very fun projects. While this will count as a Hacktoberfest contribution, but at the end of 1 month, especially for those who are students, you'll have a full stack working project that you can add to your resume, and I'm sure that this will show the skills that you possess. So these are great issues to participate in, and my personal favorite ones. And the last one is contributing to blogs and videos. Anything related to AppWrite or contributing to the AppWrite ecosystem, you are more than welcome to contribute as blogs or videos. And there is one more part that is not mentioned here. We have an issue which is called the dream contribution. So in spite of the 300 plus issues that we have, if you think that there is something that you can contribute to but it is not mentioned there, you can go to our dream contributions issue. You can raise one and say people or the maintainer that, hi, this is something that I would love to work on, and it would be great if you can create an issue out of it, or you can create the issue as well and assign it to me. So dream contribution is something that you can check out if you feel that all these contributions are something that you cannot contribute to. Moving forward, so what I have on my screen right now, I would suggest all of you to maybe take a screenshot and keep this in your head whenever you are contributing to any open source project, not just AppWrite. See if they have all of these 4 files. First, a README file. Secondly, a contributing guide. Third, a code of conduct file. And fourth, the license file. Okay, so if any open source project has all of these and green takes all of these, you are free to contribute, and this is a project that it's a good open source project for you to contribute. So README file, what it does, it helps you get a detailed overview of the entire project. So let's say if you are somebody who is very new to AppWrite, and if you go to a README file, you'll get to know about an architecture, you'll get to know the services that we provide, you'll get to know the where and what AppWrite has. So everything that we have or everything that a project has will be there in the README file. Second, there is a contributing guide. So this contributing guide, it differs from one project to other, but generally most projects have a contributing guide. So let's say if we are to tell you how to set up AppWrite, or how to raise a PR, how to write a commit message, all of these details will be there in the contributing guide. And make sure before contributing, you're checking out this MD file. Third, the code of conduct. So that open source should be a place where everybody feels welcome and there is no threat to anybody, which is why maintaining a code of conduct is very important, so that everybody belonging from anywhere feels welcome, and there are certain expectations that they follow by. Nobody there is harassed in any sense. So which is why a code of conduct is very important in any open source project. And fourth, license. So if you see that there's an open source project that you can see the code, but it does not have a license, it means that legally you cannot contribute to it, or you cannot do anything to it. So any open source project you are contributing to, make sure that it has a license file. And yeah, these are some of the things that you should keep in mind before contributing to any open source project. Next, How do I find issues? I just showed you how to find issues in general. So, but in AppWrite, how can you find issues? Just go to our GitHub repo, that is github.com/AppWrite, and under the issues tab, you can filter it out with the Hacktoberfest tag, and you'll see that there are, like I mentioned, 300 plus issues which are open right now, and plenty of them are good first issues as well. So if some of them are not yet assigned, just go and find an issue for yourself and get it assigned to you. Next, making my first contribution, and this again is a slide which is not only particular to AppWrite but any open source project. Yes, first is to pick an issue and to leave a comment telling the maintainer that why you're interested and ask to be get assigned. So this, the first one, tells how conversation is very important even while asking for an issue to be assigned. Let's say there are two, or yeah, generally we assign issues on the first come first serve basis, but there might be cases, or there might be projects where people assign issues based on the message you wrote. Like, let's say that there is me and there is another person. I wrote a detailed message saying that, okay, this is the issue that you are having, this is how I intend to solve it, and these are the skills that I possess, so I would be a great fit to work on this issue. And there's another person who is saying that, hi, please assign it to me. So if even if the person commented first and the project is not assigning issues based on first come first serve, so I will be the person who gets the issue assigned, because I have been more vocal about why I should get this issue assigned to me. Now that the first step is done, the second one is just simple PR raising techniques. Fork the repository, make your own clone, make the changes, commit often, write good code. And in many in many projects, what they'll want is, if you are making commits very often, they'll ask you to squash all of them into one single commit. So just read the contributing guide. That is where you'll get to know everything that a project demands for. And yeah, once those are done, create a pull request and make sure that you have tested your own code locally. Don't just leave it on the maintainer that, okay, this person will test it for me, because if you are not doing testing it on your own, there are chances that you might. And if the reviewer also merges it without testing it, it will break, and it will break in production. Yes, and the fifth and the sixth step is, now that you have requested a PR, created a PR, so it's time for you to request a review and work with the maintainer. So there are chances that the maintainer might ask some few rounds of iterations or some minor changes to be made. And once that is done, bingo, you'll have your PR approved and merged. And yes, after the first, if this is the first PR you're contributing to, there is a sense of completion. There is a you'll feel happy after working on an issue and getting it merged or contributing to an open source project. And yes, this is very important, especially for Hacktoberfest. Remember to be patient, because every open source project is receiving thousands of comments and PRs and commits, and reviews take a bit of time. Like I mentioned, that while you are testing it locally, even we need to test it on our system and make sure that we are not breaking things. So each PR takes a lot of our time. Just remember to be patient. Somebody from the team for every open source project will get back to you and respond to your PR. And yes, lastly, what if you get stuck? So there are chances that you have read the docs, you have done everything that is required, you know what AppWrite is, and you have contributed, but still you're getting stuck in some areas. So the first good place is to get help on GitHub. This is something that not everybody tells you, but GitHub discussions is a very nice place, or the best place to get your questions answered. We are very active on GitHub discussions, so you can either check the past discussions that we have had, or you can raise a new discussion and there will be somebody who is responding to your queries. Or you can also check out your the issues, if there are something that others have faced and something that we have put on backlog and is not solved yet. So GitHub is the place where you'll get to know everything in and out about an open source project. Next, check the docs. Docs is like the holy book that you have. You first read it before contributing to any project. Once you read the docs, you'll know, you'll have a basic understanding of what the project is, what it does, and what it has, and only then get your hands dirty with the service or with the code. Next, I mentioned about the README and the contribution or the contributing guide. So, to any project that you are contributing to, make sure you are going through these two files, and that is where you'll get to know. You'll have the important information about navigation, or you'll get to know the basics of a project. And yes, our favorite, ask on Discord. And you can see two of the most active members on our Discord. Like I mentioned, there is Steven and there is Viswa. And for Hacktoberfest, we have a specific channel called Hacktoberfest. So any queries that you have, just put them on the Hacktoberfest channel and we'll answer them for you. So yes, this is our Discord community, and this is the QR code that we have for you. I'll keep it up there for a while, or you can also go to apprite.io/discord and join it. If not, I just have a few more slides, and yeah, I'll just wait for 2 minutes maybe. I think I'm good with time as well. Just take a screenshot if you want to join. Cool. Moving forward, so here are some useful tools. These are again not AppRite specific, but it is it will help you in writing, in raising a PR, in contributing to any open source project. And the first one is Gitpod. I'm not sure how many of you have heard about Gitpod, but it's very similar to VS Code but on the cloud. So anybody who has used code spaces before, so Gitpod is very similar to that. And the reason why we mentioned Gitpod here specifically for AppRite is because we have single click deployments or installations with Gitpod. So if you don't want to install AppRite using a Docker desktop, you can use Gitpod for the same. And specifically, if you are contributing to AppRite, Gitpod will be very handy for you. Next, Grammarly. This is for all the technical writers out there, or anybody who is contributing the documentation part. So Grammarly is a tool that will check the sentence formation, grammatical errors, and everything for you. So while we focus on the technicalities, Grammarly will be there to help us with the spellings, grammar, sentence formation, and everything. So a quick tip for this is, if you're using Grammarly, make sure that it is there as a Chrome extension for you. So as soon as you're writing, it will keep correcting for you. And yeah, that's all from my end. If you have any questions, I would love to answer them if you still have time. If not, feel free to drop me a message on Discord or Twitter or LinkedIn or anywhere. And yeah, that's all for today. Thank you for being such patient listeners. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Avantika. I'm sure that in case people have any question, they'll drop in the Discord channel, and I've also shared the AppRite Discord link in the chat. So all the folks who are looking to contribute towards open source or just want to explore what it is all about, do join the AppRite Discord. And we are definitely gonna have AppRite breakout room on our Discord from 3 p.m. So make sure you join us over there as well. In case you have any question, we might have Hemantika over there, or anyways we'll definitely have Biswa, so
Yes.
we can get your questions answered right away on that breakout room itself. But thank you so much, Hemantika, for guiding us through each and everything in such a beautiful manner. I'm super happy that
Thank
you
you.
could join us and on this
It's a
Saturday.
pleasure. It's a pleasure. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool, then
See you
I'll
all.
see you
Thank
around.
you.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. I see the chat is still going on. I am loving that. Please keep that live chat interactive as much as possible. I'm definitely looking forward to all the responses, the comments, the questions, the answers, and everything, the emojis in the chat. So please keep that coming. And meanwhile, we have, like, moving on, of course, to the agenda, we have talk by Biswa, where he'll be guiding us through all the awesome AppRite snippets. So let me quickly invite him on the stage. Hello.
Hey
Hi,
everyone.
Biswa. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. So far, so good. And would you like to take the stage ahead from here?
Yeah, sure. My slides are visible, right?
Let me quickly bring that up. I see it now.
Okay.
Perfect. Take it ahead.
Okay. So, hey everyone. I would say good afternoon, good evening, good morning from all the time zones around here. Good afternoon to those who are from India. And I'm so glad you are all here watching the stream, and I'm here to mostly showcase about what this project means to me. Means I'm actually pretty excited to talk about this project, and a little bit hope you are all as well. So let's get started. So a brief introduction about me. I'm Joseph Marino. I'm Vishwajit Pari, but you can prefer to call me as Biswa. I'm currently an undergrad student studying in India. I'm currently a developer slash consultant at a U Foundation where we're working on decentralizing the social network, which we're going to open source it too. I'm also an open source contributor for the past 1 year. I'm currently an active open source contributor at AppWrite. You can also find me writing technical content, being active in the Discord server, uh, and just talking around the GitHub, watching those PRs and stuff. Also, you can find me mostly in the community meetups. So, moving on, what is it? What is Awesome App Write Snippets? So, in short, it's a Awesome App Write Snippets is a collection of commonly used app write APIs. It increases the speed of development by eliminating most of the boilerplate code, while associated with making using app write in a project. But why awesome? Well, AppWrite is awesome. And since we're making snippets of an awesome project, snippets plus awesome. So yeah, awesome AppWrite snippets. Well, that's one reason for the name. The other reason was to make it clickbait. So AppWrite snippets doesn't look like this, but awesome AppWrite snippets definitely looks fascinating. So it was fascinating, isn't it? Yeah, that's what she said. So moving on, how I built it. Well, or the motivation behind it. Well, the question it's an interesting question. Well, I was working on a personal project, which was, of course, it uses AppWrite, and I found writing most of the APIs, calling repeated APIs too tiresome. Means it was too much boilerplate. So I Google a bit on is there anything which I could do, and I got to know about snippets, and I searched if there are any existing snippets which we have someone any of the community member have created for it, and I found none. So I googled how to create snippets, and I found this website for VS Code. Since I primarily use VS Code, I got this website. It said you need Node.js. I have installed. You need Node generator and VSC for this blah blah thing. Moving on, I got to the snippet guide, which I'll talking more about later on how you could contribute to this project later. But yeah, I got the snippet guide and I went through it. Now let's check. Let's demo time. I'll have a demo project which I taken from the GitHub repository of the AppWrite. It's a basic to-do application which I cleansed it, updated to the latest AppWrite version, and I'll be teaching you how you can install the awesome AppWrite snippets and use it locally for any project. Moving on, I have this project. So this is a demo to-do app with Flutter. To install awesome AppWrite snippets, you just need to type awesome AppWrite snippets. Yeah, and you could see the second one here with 150 installs. Yeah, that's me. That's my project. You could just click on install button. I already have installed, so I don't need to do it again. And boom, that's it. That's all you have to do to install the AppWrite awesome AppWrite snippets. Now let's try to use it. If you could see in this project, it also gives you a list of what are the snippets or what are the shortcuts basically you can use to call those snippets. We'll be demonstrating some of those. For instance, let's say I need to log in. What I need is it says it needs an email and a password. So I'll use cr email or cr email section or crs email, and that's it. I have a variable name session. If I want to rename it, I could choose its response. I click on tab. I just get to the email if I want to add it. Well, since I have a variable name email, I do want to use this, and I'll do this. Same goes for here, and here goes for password. Now same goes for sign up. For the sign up, we have CR account. It creates an account. I would still keep the response. I'll use the ID to be unique because I don't want to give it a personalized user ID. For the email, I want to use this variable. And for the password, I'll use password. And similarly, you could use more of these things. This one demonstrates the use of account snippets. Let's talk about adding data. Let's go this. I'll just see our doc. It gives a document. It creates, just write the whole boilerplate code for you. I just want to say doc, create create document. I just need to add the database ID. I just need to add the collection ID. I usually have it stored. I'll just keep it same for now. For the data, what you will do is data, and I have the data inside here. Let's close this and add data. My bad. Add data to map, since it requires a map of string and dynamic. So yeah, this is basically how you could use those snippets, and you could just check it more out on the description, or check out more shortcuts on the VS Code extension page, and you could see it. So let's move on to the contributing guide. So how to contribute? So Awesome App Snippet is taking part in the Hacktoberfest for the first time, and it's highly beginner friendly if you want to get started by making your first PR or even any of the PRs. So this is the link of the repo if you want to check it out. I'll give you some time to scan it, and if you want to see it. Meanwhile, I'm sure the Hacktoberfest team would add this link down in the description chat below. Let's move on. We have a dedicated contribution guide on how you could get started contributing to this project. If I show you the repository, this is the repository, and if you go to the contributing guide, it gives you a brief welcome of how you can get started if you get stuck, being code of conduct, installing locally, creating a pull request, and gives you a brief tutorial of how you can add the new snippets. To know more about the snippets, you could follow this page. Means to add more specific such features, you could use this snippet scope. You could check it out, and there are some other ways to help you. You can also help by, you could give a shout out to me on Twitter if you want to help someone give feedback, or if you want some report some bugs, if you report they think any typo errors, that's what you can see. So moving on, yeah, how you can contribute. You can add. Currently, I'm looking for contribution to add more snippets for the client SDKs. For client SDKs, there are various languages you can contribute. There's JavaScript, there's PHP, there's Kotlin, there's Dart, there's Python, I guess. Yeah, for the server SDKs, means there's just so many snippets you can contribute to. You can also fix existing typo in the snippets if you find any grammatical errors in the contribution guide or in any of the files you could see. I'm happy to take it as a contribution. And if you want to add more customization, like if you want the variables to have more customization, like the one you could see, I have to just backspace everything and then add the object. You could add more customization to it just by removing the double quotes and just keeping it simple like this. You could do like that, and that's pretty much it. And that's it. Make the changes, test on your machine, and then make a PR. And if it works on your machine, it should work on my machine. It's pretty much simple as that. So any questions if you want to ask, I'm here. If you want to ask questions, you can ask questions right now, or we could be going into the breakout session as well. We could be discussing as well there. So that's pretty much about it. Thanks for watching.
Definitely. Yeah, Vishwa, I've already shared your GitHub repo link in the chat. So
Awesome.
for all of those who want to check out, head over to that link. I'm sure that you'll have a lot of fun contributing to that repo, and Vishwajit is a great maintainer for sure. But feel free to reach out to Vishwa in case you are stuck somewhere on his social handles, which you can already see on the screen. But thank you so much, Vishwa. I am looking forward to interacting and asking a lot of questions to you in the breakout rooms.
Well, I'll see you there.
All right, cool. Thank you so much, Vishwa. All right, folks, fantastic. That was quick one, but cool workshop. Yes, I know that, Vish. That's why we have the virtual edition, because we want to summarize on couple of things that took quickly and easily and in the most beginner friendly way. So these are like the best approaches we are bringing up to you all people. But having said that, thank you so much for staying with us so far. In case you're still listening to us, drop down your favorite emojis in the chat. I want to see your excitement once again. And I'm just waiting for the breakout rooms discussions as well. As I've already mentioned before, that join us for the breakout room discussions that will happen on our Discord. In case you haven't joined our Discord yet, do join us. It's discord.hackthisfall.tech. I will once again share the link in the chat soon, and it will start from 3 p.m. onwards. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all over there. Perfect. Having said that, let's move on with the agenda. And we have a talk by Ishika where she's taking us through different opportunities, different career opportunities, which we can grab with open source. So without wasting any much of your time, let me quickly invite Ishika on the stage. Hello,
Hi
Ishika. How are
there.
you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
All good. I'm pretty excited for your talk. Is there anything you're looking forward to as well?
Me too. The fact that you're doing this initiative means a lot to me because, when I was in my first, second year, I really wished someone would have told me about these opportunities because, yeah, these opportunities are definitely going to help you guys. Yep. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Perfect. Then
Okay,
I'll
cool. So,
quickly bring up your screen. And here we have it. And the stage is all yours.
okay. Thank you, Siddharth. Okay, well, hi everyone. I'm glad that you guys joined, and it's Saturday, so that is amazing that you guys have time for this. So I'll just start right away. So welcome to Hacktoberfest Hack This All event, and I'll first start with my introduction. So I am Ishika Kesarwani, and currently I'm a final year student at UPS Dehradun, and I am also a GitHub Campus expert, MLH fellow, and I have worked under GitHub Education under the project of EDC. Along with this, I was also the GDAC lead of UPS Dehradun, and currently I am the community manager at Aldogic. Yep, next. Yeah. Just give me a second. I'm just getting a lot of notifications. Yep. Yeah, I'm so sorry. So, well, today I'll be talking about the opportunities in open source, and I'm super excited to tell you guys about it because definitely it's going to be a life changing opportunity for you because I have learned a lot of stuff being in this community. So, like when I was in my first, second year, when I used to join the session, I used to think that, people have been doing so much in their life, but they don't usually talk about their journey throughout the college life. So, before starting with the session, I would like to tell you a bit about myself, how I started, and how it's going on. So, I am a part of the COVID batch, and during my freshman year, rather than watching Netflix, all I was doing was looking out for opportunities to learn something new. And over here, hackathons helped me a lot to upskill my skill sets, to learn more stuff, to learn more technologies, to get a good deep dive. And along with the hackathons, I was doing development. So during my sophomore year, I shifted into data science because that is what I was doing in my university. I'm a student who is pursuing my bachelor's with the specialization of AI/ML. And along with this, I was looking out for opportunities to gain some experience, to gain some exposure in the industry. And that is how I got to know about open source. And I started contributing at this time in my second year. And along with open source, I was learning in public. So, like, if you guys know about me, you might be knowing that I was very active on Twitter. I used to post information regarding data science all the time. So whatever that I've done in data science, I've done it in public. And like after that, I in my final year, with all my experiences, I've been mentoring students, and yeah, I also got a job. So yeah, that is good. Next, a very cool wallpaper which I found in the toolkit, and I had to use it. Next. So, like, how it all started, I first, like, when I was in my second year, when I was learning data science, I really wanted to get some experience. I really wanted to get a internship. And, in second year, you usually do not get the chance to showcase what you're learning, etc. And people don't usually hire you at that time. And I was desperate to gain some experience, to learn, to get a hands-on opportunity. So over here, I got to know about this one community called Omdena. They sell out courses, but along with this, they have an open source community in which they teach you, and like in which you can learn and you can collaborate, and yeah, you'll get a lot of good experience. So, like when I joined this community, I was added into a Slack channel. And in this Slack channel, we were divided into groups and we had our mentors. And I'll be very honest, I just had a normal beginner level knowledge, but the mentors over there helped me a lot to gain so much experience. And again, I got so many projects to add into my resume. So Omdana did help me a lot to start my journey with open source, and then I shifted to Hacktoberfest. Hacktoberfest definitely is a really good opportunity for you if you want to kickstart your journey in the world of open source. It's like a signal from the universe that it's time that you should start it. And then I started contributing a lot to open source. I helped a lot of my juniors. I helped up a lot of my community in my university. And I also inspired approximately 1,000 to 2,000 students along with Vinesh Hardio and Aman in a community called CrossNot. Right now we are building it. So yeah, that was really amazing. And that all collectively helped me to crack this opportunity by MLH fellowship, and I worked under the GitHub education. So that was a really good add-on into my resume. Next up, so about open source, I mean, like this topic has already been covered, but like for me, open source in short is bond with the community to gain knowledge and to test up your skill sets. So definitely, please do get into it. It's definitely going to help you guys a lot. So opportunities for students. So before I start, I would like to know what all opportunities are you guys aware of? Like I would like to know from your end. Like, can you all comment it down in the comment section? Just want to check if I'm audible. Cool. I'll just start. Okay, cool. So the first opportunity that would actually come into anyone's. Okay, before I start, I just want to tell you guys that if I can do it, anyone can do it. It's just you need to give it a try, and definitely it's going to help you guys. Yep. So some of the opportunities that usually comes into your minds will be GSOC, Linux Foundation, Outreach, MLH Fellowship, Hacktoberfest, when we talk about open source and its opportunities. So starting up with the beginner level opportunities, first of all, we'll start with Hacktoberfest, and that is what we are here for. It's definitely the kickstart to your open source journey. And students usually come here for the goodies and then they stay for the community, and that is exactly what I did. Like in my second year, I was very desperate to get those really cool t-shirts and goodies, and that is something which attracted me to Hacktoberfest. I mean, there's nothing wrong to get the goodies, but then again, you're learning also, and that is going to help you guys a lot. And then we have Girl Script Summer of Code. So there's a time in the summer vacation when you see people posting on LinkedIn that they got selected in this program. And in my time, my friends used to make fun of them. But honestly saying, I have worked with this team, and definitely it's a really amazing opportunity because the amount of exposure and the amount of yeah the amount of exposure that you'll be getting, the amount of categories, the diversity they have is just amazing. You can join any domain, and you'll be getting your mentors, a supervisor who will be helping you out throughout the program to help you build up projects and to gain knowledge. And you know, the fact that you can learn something while working on a project is just amazing. So do check it out. Girls Create Summer of Code is a really good opportunity for folks who want to kickstart their journey in open source. Again, this is a beginner level opportunity, so do check it out once. Now shifting to advanced level opportunities. So before starting with it, I just want to let you guys know that you can't just take part in it. You need to have some experience before applying to this, because when I got selected for my MLH fellowship, I was made sign this document in which it was clearly said that we are not reliable to teach you the technologies that you have applied for. So just make sure that you are aware of the domains that you have specifically applied for, so that you can perform well, so that you get selected. So starting right away from Google Summer of Code, obviously everyone knows about it. Right. So again, it's not an internship at Google, because people usually say that if they get selected. Wait, there's a question. Is GoScript similar to GSOC? No, it's different. It's a different program. Okay, cool. So again, it's not an internship at Google. You're just working under an organization who have applied under Google Summer of Code cohort. This program happens once a year, which is January to August. It's a 3 month 10 weeks program, and you get a stipend of around 1,500 to $3,000. Again, it depends on the area that you belong to, and definitely an amazing opportunity. You'll be working with the organizations, and it will be a really good asset to your resume. Clearing up Google or Summer of Code is definitely going to help you guys. Next up, we have MLH Fellowship. I have cleared this in this year. I have worked under the open source track, and in my time, we had 3 tracks. And now, from this year, we have 4 tracks, which is open source, site reliability, software, and Web3. And I heard that Google will be working with MLH Fellowship this year. So, definitely to you folks, it's going to be a really good opportunity, because working with Google is going to be amazing. And I guess it's under the site reliability track, but I guess just check it out once. And again, it happens thrice year, during the summertime, spring, and winter. And also they also have one more program called the prep program, which is to upskill your resume, to add on some projects into your resume. So that track is different from the 4 tracks that I have specified. That track is only for 5 to 6 months. This one is for approximately 2 months. Yeah, the prep one is for 5 to 6 weeks. Sorry. Again, it's a remote internship in which you will be working on real world open source projects. Definitely an amazing opportunity for you, and you'll be getting a stipend of around $1,000 to $5,000. And it totally depends on the area that you are working for. It totally depends on the PPP of the country. Again, when I was working at MLH Fellowship, I had this conversation with my mentor over there, and I was telling him that a lot of my friends did apply for MLH Fellowship, but they did not get selected for it, and they were better than me in the technical aspects. But why was it like that? I got selected and they did not. To which he told me that it's not always the technical aspects that the interviewer looks for. It's how unique your project is, how differently you thought of it, how you code, and how different it is from the people, and how you are different from them. And also, one fact that he also included was your contribution to the community, that it's just not that you're just into coding, but also doing something in the community atmosphere. So these extracurriculum activities is something also they look into before judging you for the fellowship selection. Next up, we have Outreachy. It's a diversity initiative internship so that they get more people in the open source environment, so that other people also get the opportunity to work in such programs. And it does not mean that it's only for women. Yeah, they have a better chance of getting selected, which is of 94%. But then again, I have some friends who are male and who got selected in this program. Again, this program is for the people who are of different color, of different race, or from different areas, and women. So again, a really good opportunity for people who want to get a good dive into open source. And the best thing about this opportunity is that it's not only inclined towards the technical aspects, but also the non-technical aspects. Because when we talk about open source, what people usually think is that you will have to code, but it's not like that. You can also contribute in the form of documentations, maybe UI UX, etc. In Outreachy, you'll also get an opportunity to apply as a content writer, or UX researcher, or a graphic designer, etc. Definitely do check it out. It's an amazing opportunity. 3 months internship starts from May to August, and one is for the winter tenure, which is December to March. And the stipend is really good, which is of $7,000, which is a lot. But then again, I'm just going to say that do not apply for such opportunities for the money. Go for here for the experience that you will be gaining from these opportunities. Next up, we have Google Season of Talks. This specifically is for the people who are into technical writing. Over here, you'll be getting an opportunity to closely work with the organization, helping them to build up the documentations, to write up blogs, and writing the README files of the GitHub repository. Again, an amazing opportunity. For 6 months, starts from May to December, and the stipend depends on the organization that you will be working for. Okay, yeah. Some more opportunities that I have lined up. We have Season of KDE. We have Linux kernel mentorship program. We have Linux Foundation Networking Mentorship Program. Again, this one is really good. I forgot to add this one. Please do check it out. Amazing stipend, amazing organization that take part in it, and yeah, do check it out. You'll definitely like it. Next up, we have open source of code. Then we have CNCF mentoring initiatives. Like this, you can get to know about more opportunities. So stay active in the community. Every day there's every other person who is posting up about such opportunities. So I just suggest to stay active. Okay, cool. Before I end this up, I would like to tell you guys that there's nothing wrong in applying. The worst thing that can happen is that you will get rejected, which is a lot better than not applying. Because I applied for MLH fellowship like 3 or 4 times, but I never had the will to submit the form because I used to have this mindset that I'll just get rejected. Why are they going to take me up? But well, I got accepted because when I was applying for this, it was a very random text message from my program manager from GitHub organization, and I literally just applied for this opportunity at 3 a.m. at night, and I slept off. And within a week, I got selected for the first round, and then I cleared off the first, second, and third round, and I got in. Like, if I wouldn't have woken up that night at 3 a.m., I wouldn't be here telling you about such opportunities. So definitely, please do apply for it and do not be scared. The worst thing that can happen is that you will get rejected, and you will get a reason for your rejection. So that is amazing because you can work on that the next time that you will be applying for it. So yeah, that is it, folks, from my end. Thanks for listening. And if you still have any questions, you can always reach out to me on Twitter. My username is ishikak714. And yeah, um, if you have any question, you can post it in the comment section.
Perfect. I guess in this case, what we can do is we can get the questions answered maybe on Discord. We have our Hacktoberfest channel over there. Feel free to post your questions over there, and you can tag Ishika. I'm sure uh, she'll be able to answer it over there as well. But thank you so much, Ishika, for guiding us through all these opportunities. And I'm sure this might be super insightful and useful to all the people who are just getting started. Because I remember when I was getting started, and you mentioned as well earlier, right, that
Mhm.
there were not many opportunities which we came across
Yeah,
earlier in our career, and it was more of like we explored it by our own. But now that you have
exactly.
brought it to light for all of us, it's definitely amazing.
Exactly. Like in my first, second year, I used to tell seniors about it, and they used to say that, it's really tough. No one can get selected in it. Well, I am telling you, please apply for these opportunities because definitely you'll be getting an amazing experience. And even if I'm able to inspire like one, two students, that is going to make up my day.
Yeah,
So yeah,
that's really very true. Well, thank you so much for taking our time on the weekend and joining us for this particular talk. Really appreciate that. And yes, I'll see you around.
great. Well, thank you
Cool.
so much. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye. All right, folks. I hope that was something super insightful for each and every one who joined us. And see, now we are, just progressing on our agenda. And having said that, I'll move on to the next part, which is Mini Search Project Showcase, and that will be done by none other than Shive Lamba himself. Hi, Shive. How's it going?
Yeah, hi Siddharth. Good to see you, and good to see you again very soon. We met this last week, so it's really great. And I'm super excited to be sharing about some of the projects that I contribute to, and because of the fact that there are so many different types of projects that are there. It's just good to know what all different beginner friendly projects, especially for students who are just getting started. What are some of
Yeah.
the areas that they can focus on? And the project that I would like to showcase today is kind of special in that way because there are multiple programming languages in which you can basically contribute to. So it's not like limited to just folks who are working with JavaScript or folks who are just working with Rust for that matter. So I'm
Mhm.
super excited to be sharing today about one of such projects, and share why tools and open source tools today have kind of become the bread and butter of technology in general, especially with the rise of open source tools. So yeah, I'm super excited to be sharing my thoughts about that and share about Millisearch and how one can contribute to Millisearch in Hacktoberfest and beyond Hacktoberfest as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I can, recall those moments when you were speaking on the stage on the last Sunday at our in-person event, and you showcased the Millisearch project, and that was like super awesome. I was observing the breakout room as well of yours, and people were
Yeah.
quite engaging in that room. So I'm quite looking forward how you take this forward for our virtual event as well. And I'm excited for all the people in the chat and watching us live or who are going to watch us live in near future. So yeah, do you want to share your screen or you want to just get started
Yes.
anyways?
Yeah, definitely. Let me share it. Okay. I think we should be good. So
Perfect.
first, I'll
Let
just
me.
want to give a quick introduction to what exactly is Millisearch. So generally, when we talk about search engines, the number one thing that comes to, and by the way, so that is my screen visible to everyone.
Yep,
Could you just confirm
everything
is my
is
screen?
visible.
Okay,
Yes, yes,
perfect,
perfect.
perfect. All right. So generally, whenever we talk about search engines, the number one thing that comes to mind is Google, right? And Google is probably the world's largest search engine. What Google is doing behind the scenes is that it's indexing millions and billions of web pages that exist on the internet, and it indexes the data. And uh, s- whenever you make some search on the actual search bar, it is very quick to be able to index and give you relevant results. Now, of course, the power of Google is definitely unmatched, but of course, you might require some smaller search on, let's say, an e-commerce platform when you are trying to search through a product catalog, or you might require it on a documentation site when you are trying to search for some text that matches with the relevant documentation. Now, in those scenarios, we use something known as a full text search. That means if you have a bunch of text lying around, and you want to quickly try to either match some search queries through that and try to see if something matches with that, or if something that is relevant or close to what you're trying to search for. And there are a number of different full text search engines today, including projects like MongoDB text search, Algolia. But Minisearch is also one of those full text search that works very well when you have a lot of data in JSON format. And it's completely open source, by the way, and it's written in Rust. So one of the key benefits that there is for any product that is written in Rust is the performance benefits that you get due to the way that how internally Rust architecture works. So it makes it super quick to be able to even be iterate over millions of different items. So that's what I'm going to be talking all about today, that how can you contribute to Millisearch itself, but also to the number of different integrations that come with Millisearch. So since it's a search engine, there are a number of different languages that support Millisearch, and we'll just explore some of them. So whether you are from a Java background, JavaScript, C++, Python, Swift, you can probably name any programming language, you'll find support for Millisearch as, like, let's say, supported SDK or a integration. So it makes it a very good project for various levels of expertise and varying level of programming experiences to get started with. So I'll just quickly give a quick intro into the actual project. So if you are willing to go ahead and take a look at it, you can visit the main GitHub website. So for that, I'll just quickly go to Millisearch over here, and this is the main GitHub organization. Again, we'll come back and take a look at some of these repositories in a bit. But primarily, Millisearch has been taking part in a lot of previous years as well in Hacktoberfest', and we have this blog that kind of walks you through all the list of available repositories and issues that we have with the Hacktoberfest going on, and also some of the guidelines. Now, one thing I just would want to highlight when it comes to open source projects is that every open source project will have slightly different or varying levels of the best practices when it comes to the contributing guidelines. For example, at Millisearch, the way we handle the submissions of these pull requests is that we don't wait for a particular assignee to get assigned to a particular issue. Whoever puts out the best possible solution to a particular issue, we accept their pull requests and those get merged. So just keep in mind that each and every project will have certain different guidelines. So whenever you're willing to contribute to any particular open source project, just make sure that you go through the guidelines. And this particular blog post does go through some of the guidelines that are kept to be mind, you should keep in mind when you are trying to go ahead and contribute. Now, I'll just quickly walk through some of these GitHub repositories that are there and the list of issues that are there. So, as I mentioned, right, that basically how Millisearch works is that the core search engine itself has been written in Rust. Now, we do have a number of integrations that have been written in multiple languages. So I'll just also quickly walk through the source code, right, and show how simple it is to basically get started with Millisearch. So in this case, the first example that you can see is it's a JavaScript based code, right? So what we're doing is that first we are just initiating a client. So this client is basically calling the actual Millisearch server. So you can think of the architecture in this way, that you have your main database where you store all of your data, right? And if you were to, let's say, do consistent search operations directly on your main database, it will be a very expensive operation, because every time you're reading the data, you're typing in any phrase, you're doing that mean amount of database calls. In order to reduce that number of database calls, we maintain a separate server, which is this Millisearch server, where we basically index our documents, and you're able to make very quick search directly on this search engine server rather than having to make it on your database. So in the first line, what you see is that we are basically initiating our Melisearch server. And in the next few lines, from line number 3 to 10, we are indexing our search engine. That's the Melisearch search engine, by adding documents. Now, there are a number of different ways in which you can basically add documents. So the supported types are JSON, CSV. So there are a number of different file formats in which you can index your data. So we are indexing based on the movie titles. And then once you have done indexing your data, then it becomes searchable. So you can use the index.search. Of course, this is in JavaScript, to be able to, let's say, search for any phrase, and it will render the most relevant and the closest results for you. And what you can see is that there are integrations in multiple languages. And again, most of the common languages and frameworks that you can probably think of, you'll find those dedicated, for example, SDKs, framework integrations, and even like directly front-end integrations if you're, let's say, working on as a front-end developer. So that's what you'll find in terms of the participating repositories. So you can find various languages, including JavaScript, Python, Rust, PHP. So if you work in any of these particular languages, you can search and find relevant repositories that you can contribute to. And of course, keeping in mind with beginner friendly issues, you'll also find a lot of good first issues that are primarily focused on getting beginners to get started. So again, if you specifically look for the good first issues, you'll find a number of such good first issues, again, in multiple languages. Again, if you are, like, let's say, willing to try out a new programming language, or if you want to contribute to a new project itself, then of course this is a really great way to basically go ahead and do that. Now, of course, if you're wondering how to get started with Melisearch, so I'll just quickly go to the documentation, and you can take a look at the docs to basically get started. It's usually a very easy way to basically install if you're using, let's say, either Mac OS, or if you're using Ubuntu or any Linux distribution. You can just use this curl command to install, and it will start running at the local host 7700. Or if you can also install the latest Docker image, you can pull the Docker image and use Docker to run the Melisearch instance. Or, like, let's say, if you're on Windows, you can use it with either WSL, or with Docker Desktop as well. So these are some of the ways that you can very quickly go ahead and set up Melisearch and start running it locally. And then, of course, if you want to, or if you wish to contribute to any of these particular project repositories, then do make sure to first go through the contributing guidelines that are specifically the Hacktoberfest guidelines. And also, of course, I'll recommend to go through the general contribution guidelines for any repository. Every repository that you contribute to, or you wish to contribute to, will come with the with the contribution guidelines. So make sure that you do incorporate those when you are making any contribution, so that you don't end up making a wrong contribution in the first place. So that's a quick overview of what we have in store. Now, of course, you can also join our Slack in case you want to, in case you have any questions. So we have a dedicated Hacktoberfest channel where we are we are answering any of the questions. So you can definitely join the Slack as well. And in case you have any questions, I'll be available at in the Slack channel to also guide you through. So you can simply just go to slack.melisearch.com, and again, we'll be sharing all these relevant links with everyone. But another important thing that I just wanted to point out was that apart from just looking for contributions being made by developers, and of course helping new developers make open source contributions, a lot of organizations also are doing a lot more than just providing a platform for developers to come and showcase their skills and be able to contribute, right? And similarly, Melisearch also is involved in that sense. So based on the number of contributions that contributors actually make, we, of course, apart from giving like swag and all, which is just secondary, we also have a common goal of giving back to the underrepresented sections of tech. So what we do is that we partner with a number of different non-profit organizations, and based on the number of contributions that are made, we give donations, and that's worth like 10 euros per donation, per pull request that actually gets merged. So based on this, we aim to raise these donations and give back to social groups and climate activism, and then also diversity and tech is as well. So that's also really a unique initiative that specifically this organization is doing. So if you're contributing, it's not just you're not only making yourself a better developer and you're helping that open source project and you're sustaining it, but you're also doing a lot more than just contributing to an open source project. So that's also one of the motivations that we'll recommend to everyone to contribute to it. But yes, at the end, if you basically wish to get started with millisearch, you can of course visit the github.com/millisearch, and of course you can join the Slack where I'll be there. I work as a developer relations engineer at millisearch, so I'll be more than happy to guide you through in case you have any questions with respect to millisearch. So yeah, with that I'll conclude my talk. Thank you so much, Siddharth.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shive, for guiding us with this millisearch. Of course, especially when we are getting started with open source, all of these projects, whichever comes our way, is like an advantage for us, right? That,
Yeah.
for example, considering let's say I am a super beginner and I am totally new to open source space, and I'm just wondering where do I get started from, and I've started learning Git, then GitHub, and then I come across, okay, this is how open source work, and then Hacktoberfest comes out, and then sometimes it becomes so overwhelming, especially for beginners, that what's the right project for them. And in this case, projects like millisearch, and of course you shared a lot about how one can contribute, how one can get started, where to reach out to in case of inquiries. These all things helps a lot, getting all those buzz from your mind get away, right? But thank you so much for showcasing what millisearch is all about. I remember you also had one more project, layer 5 IO, if
Yes,
I'm
yes, yes.
pronouncing that correctly. Would you like
Yeah.
to share more about it as well?
Sure,
Which are
absolutely.
numbers?
I would love to. Let me just bring it up. So I'll just quickly share my screen. Just 1 second.
Sure.
All right. So for those folks who are interested in the cloud native ecosystem, right? So I do assume that a few of the listeners today might have at least heard the term cloud native, especially because of the wave, of DevOps and cloud native technologies that has come up, especially in the recent years, and it's very popular among students. So technologies like Kubernetes, Docker, these are fairly popular right now, and it's really great because so many different businesses and so many different organizations are adopting to a cloud first approach. So that's why one of the organizations that I want to talk about, and again it's completely open source, is the Layer 5 organization. So first of all, what exactly is Layer 5? Layer 5 organization is primarily focused on the cloud native ecosystem. So for those folks who are not aware of what exactly is cloud native, I'll definitely recommend you to check out CNCF, which is the Cloud Native Computing Foundation. So you can learn more about cloud native technologies, and these primarily include things such as centered around Kubernetes and how you can deploy your applications to the cloud, right? So anything related to cloud computing, you'll find it relevant. Now, where Layer 5 particularly works is towards something known as service meshes. So what are service meshes? So just think of it this way, that your historical applications that used to be built were monolithic in nature. So what does monolith mean basically? If we talk about the monolith architecture, right? That means that all of your different services are under one single application. So if you talk about an e-commerce application, you'll have various functions such as having a cart and checkout. You'll have product information management, order management, payment gateway. All of those are bundled together under one single application. Now, let's say for some reason, if your main server that is hosting your entire monolith, if it goes down, then all of your services will basically stop working. And let's say if you want to make changes to one of your services, you'll have to wait for your entire monolith to also shut down and then restart. So basically scaling it, one of these applications within itself is very difficult. So what led to the next revolution in this was the microservices based architecture, where what happens is that each and every service, and it would be the PIM service, OMS, that's the order management, payment service, all of them are separate from each other, and they are their own individual service. Now it's very easy to kind of scale up and down one of these services, or if there is a bug that occurs or there is an error that comes with one of these services, then of course it will stop working. So center around and basically how you manage all of these microservices. So that's where the service mesh app, service mesh basically comes into picture. So service mesh is a really important cloud native approach, which allows you to manage the traffic between the various services, like the various microservices, and allows you to communicate between them via REST API calls. So basically Layer 5 has a number of different open source projects that come inside the service mesh landscape, and one of the most popular ones is Meshry. So Meshry is a project that is currently incubated under the CNCF. And again, if you are interested in the cloud native ecosystem, then I'll definitely recommend you to check out the Meshry project. Again, if you are interested to contribute to it, again, we have this available on GitHub as well. So I'll just go to the github.com/layer5. So let me go ahead and show to you. So it's layer5.io, and you will see the list of all the different organizations over here. So this one is specifically for Meshry. Now, just something to keep in mind is that all these different projects are primarily written in Golang. We do have let's say a couple of projects as well which are written in TypeScript, which are primarily in front end. So even if you're a front end developer, you can still contribute to a lot of these different projects, but they are primarily written in Golang. Now, one of the good things about the Layer 5 organization itself, and especially if you're looking to contribute to the ecosystem, is, and of course for someone who is new to to the cloud native ecosystem, it can be a little overwhelming, just because you have a number of different things that you need to learn in order to be able to contribute. So that's where we have a program called Meshmates. So this Meshmate program is a very special program that even I am part of, where in case you are a new developer and you're just getting started with open source, you can basically join the Slack community of Layer 5, and one of the Meshmates will basically guide you on a one-to-one basis on how to basically get started with open source, how to get started with cloud native technologies, and how to make your first ever contribution in the space of the cloud native ecosystem, and especially with Layer 5 or any of the projects that we have. So this provides you unique one-to-one mentorship, and again, it's you're not paying anything because it's completely open source. So in case you're interested to anyways just get started learning about and getting into the ecosystem of cloud native, you can definitely join. Again, we have our dedicated Slack channel, so you can join our Slack as well, which is slack.layer5.io, and you can join that. There are weekly newcomer meetings, there are weekly development meetings, weekly website meetings. So it's a very comprehensive set of various projects that you can contribute to within this Layer 5 organization. Of course, the primarily being the Meshry and service mesh interface. So yeah, I'll probably stop now. And again, if you have any questions, either related to the mesh project, or if you are having any questions related to layer 5, feel free to reach out to me. I'll just post my Twitter. So I'm usually most active on Twitter, so let me just go ahead and do that. So if you have any questions, you can find me on these Slacks, and I'll be more than happy to take up any questions in case you get stuck. I think you're speaking on that. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Perfect. I was just changing my AirPods. Cool. Let's take a minute. I'll share your Twitter as well in the chat. People can just connect with you over there. But perfect. I've shared it in the chat. But thank you so much, Rohit, for sharing that additional resources. And I would like to take this opportunity to just give you a huge shout out at this stream, because you have been with Hacktoberfest since very first season, like from the
Exactly.
time it got started. And I can, there's like always one name which comes in my mind whenever we need to invite someone, as an experienced person. So right from season 1, you had a talk. In season 2, you were mentoring and speaking as well, even judging if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
And now that we are proceeding towards season 3, which is of course coming super soon, I'm so happy that you joined us for this particular live stream as well, and for the in-person event last Sunday.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to the in-person hackathon. I'll make sure that I close all my other engagements, and I'll make sure to attend, because I'll just also want to give a shout out that there have been a lot of student-run hackathons, especially after during the pandemic and after the pandemic. But I think the kind of approach Hack This Fall has taken, it's not just a hackathon itself, right? It's a lot more than a hackathon, and you have been able to successfully build an entire community around, and not a lot of hackathons are having a hacker community built around them. So I think the initiatives like running these citywide meetups, and
Yeah.
so much active engagement in open source at Hacktoberfest. So huge shout out to you, and kudos to you and the entire team, right? There's so many people involved in Hack This Fall. So huge credit goes to the entire team to not just make Hack This Fall just another hackathon, but a community for hackathons and for hackers. So a huge shout out to to you and the entire Hack This Fall team, and thank you so much for always consistently involved inviting me for these sessions. I'm super excited to always share my thoughts and also interact with the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for always being so active with the community and sharing your knowledge and experience. That's something which is super valuable for all the people here, because I remember we met via hackathon only, right?
Yes.
I remember we weren't knowing each other before, but because of hackathons, we got an opportunity to interact with each other. Like we were mentoring some couple of common hackathons, and that's how we got connected, and that's how our bond also, got well from that front. And yeah, this one has always been special for all of us. And having said that, I can see one question in the chat which I'd like to quickly bring up.
Yeah, sure.
Which is from Aryan. He's asking if he's a beginner in JavaScript. Is there anything he can contribute to when it comes to Melissa?
Yes, absolutely. And if you don't mind, I'll just quickly share my screen as well. So just 1 second. So if you're specifically looking for contributing to JavaScript, there are primarily 2 different ways in which you can do that. So we have the JavaScript SDK. So this is basically a JavaScript client for Melisearch. So if you're let's say using Node.js, you'll find a lot of functions where you can contribute directly to the core JavaScript SDK, and it's a fairly popular SDK as well, one of the most popular SDKs. And apart from that, if you are, let's say, a front-end developer, you'll also find a number of front-end integrations with Angular, React, Vue, and the instant Melisearch. So you can definitely check out both the JavaScript SDK and also the front end integrations that we have in store, as you can see. And then we also have some dedicated platform based integrations as well with Gatsby and Strappy, right? So I'll definitely recommend to check these out. As a JavaScript developer, you can also contribute to creating demos. So we have a number of different demos that are built in and have been written in JavaScript. So I'll just recommend to you to just go ahead and go to the main Millisearch repository and search, type the language and select the language as JavaScript, and you'll be able to find a number of different projects that you can contribute to. And of course, as I referred, I'll just share this particular link in the chat as well, and you can check out all the list of SDKs that we have and the front end integrations that we have for Millisearch in JavaScript.
Whoops, I was on mute. Awesome. Thank you so much. I have also shared the link in the chat. And I see Eddie joined us for a while. He said
Wow.
hi. Thank you, Eddie. You have been like a great inspiration for many of us while we are contributing to open source.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
If Eddie can
the
make a guest
community
appearance,
super welcoming.
if Eddie can
Well-
make a guest appearance, that would make my day.
Yeah, definitely. I reached out, but he might be busy somewhere because he do a lot of
Yeah.
events and live streams, and
Yeah.
we definitely would want to respect his time as well.
Definitely.
But anyways, we have Eddie joining us. Like he has also joined us from like very beginning. He has been there
Yeah.
with us in season 1. He was speaking in both the seasons in the past. And I'm quite sure we'll for sure be having him for the upcoming seasons as well. Yeah, thank you so much, Eddie. Open source for the win. No worries at all,
That's
Eddie. We
awesome.
totally understand that. We hope to see you in our upcoming live stream super soon. But having said that, Shive, you shared a lot of projects about around open source where people can get started. I would also, because you have been in this space for quite some time and you have been contributing to a lot of projects, a lot of open source organizations. You have been part of different programs as well. So while we are having this stream, especially for beginners, what's the piece of advice which you would like to give them? Especially for someone who's just getting started. What kind of timeline or the roadmap they should follow? Is there anything specific, or it should
Yeah.
vary from person to person?
Yeah. So I would say that usually we discourage roadmaps for setting up anything, because the learning journey for everyone is going to be very different, right? But what I'd like to just focus on is some of the prerequisites that are definitely required if you want to become good at open source. So first one is having a really good mastery over Git, right? Or any other distributed version control system that you are using to be able to contribute to open source projects. Because depending on the size of the project, you might have 2 people or even 200,000 people contributing to a single project, right? So you need to be aware of how to use Git, and that's fundamentally there. I mean, if you want to contribute to open source, you need to be good at Git, and you need to learn. And the best way to do that is make your personal projects, collaborate with your friends, right? Build projects with them, join communities like Hack This Fall. Eddie's Eddie Hub is super popular, and right, it's super active. You can join these communities and contribute to open source projects, and this will give you confidence in how to handle situations such as places where you might be stuck with merge conflicts, or you might be asked to, let's say, squash your commits, right? A lot of times it might be these situations. So just try to practice such kind of situations as well, because these are very common situations where you might end up getting confused, or you might end up making a mistake. So ensure that you are able to cover these kind of cases. And of course, the best way to practice is that you make projects with your friends and try to emulate such kind of problems where you might have to squash your commits, or like, let's say, merge conflicts, right? Sometimes you might create a wrong branch name, so how can you change from one branch name to another? So having a good understanding of how Git works and practical demonstration of how you can use Git, that's very important. Now, of course, the next part of it is that depending on whatever programming language or tech stack that you are familiar with or you're comfortable in, you have two different ways to kind of look at it. One is that you are really passionate about a particular open source project that you are very, very badly wanting to contribute to. So you start learning the technologies that are involved in that particular project. So you take that path and you learn the technologies and then you start to contribute. Or like, let's say, the other approach is that you already are well versed with, or you're just getting started with one programming language or a tech stack. So you can start to look out for projects around that particular tech stack that are based on that particular programming language or tech stack, and start contributing. And of course, in both these ways, the standard or the most effective way to basically contribute to any project, right? And again, the project could be small project or hard project or medium level project, whatever project, right? So the best way to do that is that you take a look at the readme of these projects, right? Understand what that project is all about, right? So you go through the readme, install that project locally in your system, and in case you have any questions about the project, then most of these open source projects might either have a public Slack channel or a Google group or mailing list, so you can reach out to the maintainers or the community members from that particular project, and in case you have any questions, definitely you can ask them. But of course, do make sure that you do the requisite research, and then of course start to look out for good friendly, good first issues, or if you're able to report issues yourself, those are also a great way to get started. Because the number one thing that why most beginners shy away from open source is they either get super overwhelmed by looking at just the size of the project, and they start to self-doubt themselves. But just make sure that you need to be extremely patient when you're contributing to open source. I have had my share of experiences where my open source journey started with contributing to First Asia, and it took me 5 months and 15 pull requests, and all of them getting rejected, when finally one of my pull requests got merged, right? So it just takes time, right? And it can take varying level of times for everyone, but once you get the hang of contributing, right, and you have learned enough skills, then it becomes very easy for everyone. So just stay stay focused and stay positive, right? And don't get overwhelmed in case you get rejections on your way, in terms of like pull request not getting merged, it getting closed, or not being able to find the right kind of open source project for yourself. Just explore and be patient. That's Open source is all about patience, right? Because whether it's waiting for a response from the maintainers on your pull request, or like, let's say, waiting for getting assigned to a particular issue, right? Just make sure that you have that virtue of like patience in you, because that's really important to become successful in open source.
Yeah, absolutely. And having said that, in the chat as well, I see a lot of people. Uh, because you mentioned that you all are beginners. If there's any specific question that you had already in your mind, and if you want to bring that up quickly, I would like to take this time before we jump into the Solana workshop. I would take this time to get those quick basic questions answered. So if you have any questions specifically around open source, how you can get started to, I guess this is the best time. So feel free to drop them down. And Shiva, while you mentioned about the rejection thing, right? Like getting rejected, I feel that's like also part of process. And for all of those who are facing that, I feel that that's something to learn a lot from that. And it's always like, if I need to take it as in more general terms, if you get rejected, you get different perspectives. You get to gather feedbacks on what went wrong, and you get to
Yes.
see the other picture, the other side,
Yeah.
which you might not be able to see in the case where you get accepted, right? If you get
Yeah.
accepted, it's like, okay, moving on. But in case you get rejected, you have time to go back and see what went wrong, how you could have improved, and that allows you to become better version of yourself. And there's always a chance of improvisation. So in this way, rejection does help you improvise on what you were before, and while you're doing it again for the next time, you'll definitely be better than before, and the chances are high that you get accepted. And even if not,
Definitely.
there's still chances to become better, right? So
Yeah.
great point over there, Shiva. Thanks for adding that. And I see a question in the chat: how to deal with the big code base on the GitHub? How to understand this code base? Definitely a great question, because as you mentioned that beginners might get overwhelmed with all the big code base, and I guess you also pointed like added some highlights on that. But how would you take this question?
Yeah. So first, what I'd like to say is that don't think of it as a big code base. Uh, that's the first thing that I'll say. And why I say this is that every good project will be like divided into multiple segments, right? So there are a number of different services, a number of different components that are interacting with each other that make up this entire code base. So first of all, don't get overwhelmed and expect yourself to learn each and every or understand each and every line of this particular code base. We have to be very smart in terms of how we go ahead and understand this code base. And this is extremely similar if you're going ahead and doing your internship or full-time roles, because as a new entry, like as a new employee or as a new intern, you're not expected to learn the entire code base. What you will be given as a task will be a specific part of that particular code base, right? So as an example, let's say if there is the TensorFlow project, right? So TensorFlow project is very huge. Now there are separate sections within the TensorFlow project where you can start to contribute to, right? So the best way to kind of look at this is that look at some of the open source issues that are there. And a lot of times these open source projects will also have an architecture diagram, or basically some kind of a way in which you'll be able to understand that how the entire open source project operates. So if you're like, let's say, interested to contribute to one part of that particular open source project, or if you go through the issues, right, you'll, let's say you find some good first issue, then when you start to contribute to that particular issue, you'll only go through the code base, or part of that code base which is related to that particular issue. And that way you don't have to go through the entire code base, right? But what will be beneficial is just if you have a good understanding of how that particular project works on a high level, right? Just having a good understanding of that and then starting with a part of that particular code base is what will help you to understand that how that particular part of that particular code base operates. And again, if you have any specific questions regarding that, surrounding that, of course you have the mentors, maintainers of that particular entire project who will be ready to guide you. But yes, the approach shouldn't be that you start going through every line of code, every file that is already there in that project, and you get confused. Instead, the logical approach is that you install that project locally and just get a basic understanding that okay, on a high level how that particular project works, and then start to look out for good first issues, beginner issues that are based on a specific part of that particular project, and that's where you get started. And as you contribute more to the project, then of course you expand your knowledge further, and see how, like, let's say one part of the project interacts with others, right? Because the way it will interact is, let's say you have some functions which call other parts of the project, right? So that's the way you have to approach any large code base.
Well, that's an interesting perspective. And again, rightly mentioned, the first point, that do not consider it as a big code base. It's just a code base. Something which I really would want to highlight, because
Yeah.
of course you're getting started, right? Everyone gets started somewhere. So this is your opportunity to take that as a positive thing, and take it forward from there. But thank you so much for sharing all of these things. And uh, one more thing I would just like to pick up, which might be important for as a part of a discussion right now, is that when actually beginners start understanding all of these things, get used to the flow, understands what's the first, like the issue they are going to check out, or the discussions which is happening on GitHub. what could be your tips for something around the conversation which is important before we actually start with contributions, right? Because we
Yeah.
need to understand what the problem is. Absolutely, like because we see some issues, it's not that we directly jump on it and start solving it. We
Yeah.
usually have a word or have a chat with the other community members who are already working on that issue or that particular problem, and we have a chat with the maintainer, getting some feedbacks, getting to ask some questions. So, what's something you would recommend from that end? That why is this conversation important for anyone before they actually get started with their contributions?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So, and that also comes from the fact that these issues, when we create issue, right, it should be first of all self-explanatory, so that even if for some reason the maintainers are not able to respond, so the issues should be described in such a way that they should be self-explanatory. Now, of course, there might still be some questions that might come up for the contributor who is willing to make a contribution. So in that case, you can always comment on the particular issue in case you have any questions or queries on like how what should be the approach of that solving a particular problem. You can always discuss that as well. Of course, there might be some straightforward issues that you can directly just request to get assigned to, and of course some projects might require you to get assigned to that particular issue and then make a pull request. Some of them might not require that to happen. So again, it kind of depends from project to project. Now, of course, if there's some additional discussion that is required in order to properly understand, because there might be some more advanced issues, right, which require more architectural discussions. So all of those can take place on the GitHub issue itself, and that's why you have been provided with that platform of being able to interact in a text spaces and share screenshots, videos that kind of probably helps you to break down. So it's probably less likely to happen for smaller issues or probably straightforward issues that you can directly resolve. But yes, it's definitely recommended to take part in the discussions on these issues, because they can be a great source to understand or dissect the problem even further. Because as a beginner, let's say there was an old issue that someone wanted to contribute to, and they had started to have a discussion, but they for some reason they ended up not doing that. So if you can just go through that discussion in the issue, you'll get even more context that what that issue is related to, and that'll give you better idea of how one should actually approach solving that particular issue. But this is also a good practice for maintainers that whenever you're creating an issue for an open source project, just try to make it as descriptive as possible, so that less amount of time is probably going into the discussion, and they should be self-explanatory in a way, so that the contributors can just understand that yes, this is what is desired, and they can make the contribution. So this is the small tip to the maintainers as well, that do spend time to make sure that the issues that you create are self-explanatory as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much for explaining it from both perspectives, from the contributor and the maintainer side. And we'll pick this last question before we actually jump on to the next workshop. It's a question from Arnav. Is imposter syndrome a real thing while contributing in open source, and how to overcome?
Well, I mean, it's definitely there, right? Imposter syndrome is something that is globally there, right? It's not just like related to open source or related to tech, right? But of course, with open source, I mean, I would say that I did face it to a point, especially during this phase where, I was struggling, getting even one single pull request merged. But what really helped me out was that, of course, getting proper guidance and getting good community members with whom you can contribute together, right? That helped me take off that mindset or that negative mindset that I had in mind. So of course it can always be there, right? But the best way to overcome is that just accept the fact that if you are not being able to get your first pull request merged on day one, you need to stay positive, and you need to be really patient with how you approach and you contribute to open source. So if you are able to understand that reality, right, open source it's not like a lottery that you just win it instantly, right? so open source comes with time, right? You have to put in the effort, and of course you might not get success initially, right? You have to make yourself a better software engineer. And of course, another way to make even more quality contributions would be that you can start by making non-code contributions as well. So you can still be active in the open source community space and help the open source projects in ways other than just the code. So that also gives you a better sense of ownership and better sense of belonging to that particular open source project, and makes you more involved with the project. And that also helps you deal with these issues like the imposter syndrome, because open source is not just about the code contributions, it's also equally important about the community contributions. So if you have that thought in mind, then and that's why Hacktoberfest is all about maintainers, the contributions that you make, but also non-code contributions.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, thank you so much, Shivaj, for sharing all of those insights. I'm quite sure that people in the chat get to learn a lot from all of these conversations. And in case you're still having any question, do join us on our Discord, because we are going to have our breakout room discussions from 3 p.m. onwards. So feel free to join us on our Discord. The link is already there in the YouTube stream description. So you can join us there from by clicking on that link directly. But thank you so much, Shivaj, and we'll see you on Discord in couple of hours, one in few hours. But thank you so much. See you then.
Thank you so much, Siddharth.
Perfect. Having said that, let us quickly jump on to the next part of our agenda, which is contributing and building on top of Solana. And for that, I have a very special guest joining us all the way from Gurgaon. Prakash Pathak.
Do you see my hair?
Popularly known as Blockchain Balak.
Am I audible? Can you hear me, buddy?
Yes,
thank you so much for
I can
having
hear
me.
your energetic laughter. How are you?
Can you see my hair right now? So whoever who is watching this, so I've come from Gurgaon traffic just so I could tell you how to do Solana. So you have to be very attentive on all this. Like, this guy has just put so much energy to it. So, hey everyone, thanks Siddharth for having me.
Cool. Thank you so much, Prakash, for just overcoming the traffic and joining us in that speed. I was wondering that if we could have you today, but you overcome all those struggles, and that's what matters. And you are here with us. Thank you so much. But the stage is all yours. Take it away. Looking forward to see how this goes, because I've already seen it happening in person. I'm quite excited to see it happening virtually as well.
Okay, for sure. So, thank you, Siddharth. And for people who are wondering, what is this? How to build on top of Solana, and what is over there? Why Solana itself? What's the point of having Solana, right? Why this guy would tell us that, there is Solana made of, and you need to contribute to it. So we have to understand from step-by-step series to it. And Solana is something which is, which is extremely elaborate. Think of Solana as Delhi NCR, right? Think of Solana as Delhi NCR. There is Gurgaon, there is Faridabad, there is Noida, there is a whole lot of stuff, right? But you have to understand what suits your capacity into contributing to it. You have to think of okay, this is something I know, and this is something I can work on, and I can contribute to that. So I think most of my friends who are able enough, they have told you how to start a PR, how to get started with it. But how do you do it on Solana? And what is even Solana? So first of all, for me, I do a whole lot of physical events. So I ask one question. So for me to know that you're in this event, I'm going to ask you a few questions. Do you know blockchain or Web3? You can say yes, or you can say no, or you can say maybe. And then we move forward. It's like an interactive game. Okay. So Prakash will only deliver once you say yes, no, or maybe. That's how the session moves on. Hey everyone. Hey. Oh, see, I see similar faces, man. I see Ayush. I see. Okay.
Good to have you guys. I see Krish, I see Luck, I see Akshay. Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. You know blockchain. That's good. Okay, so I got my answers. Okay, so for you to understand that there is a blockchain, and that blockchain is Solana. Okay, so I'm not going to give you the complete go around of the complete. My mama couldn't believe that I came in such less amount of time. See, this is Solana. I was faster than Solana's TPS. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to share you some links, and we're going to get started with what Solana is and how Solana got started on a very initial level for you to understand what Solana is eventually. Okay, so just let me open my slides. And until then, I would be sharing some link with you, and I'll be sharing some repositories with you for you to understand. So you could get the idea of why Solana is being used in day-to-day basis, and what is the point of having Solana, like why. Okay, so if you're aware of something called, I'm gonna share my screen. The screen. Okay. So yeah, sharing the screen right now. So there is one thing called NASDAQ, okay? And NASDAQ is an exchange. NASDAQ has multiple transactions happening, like for just a brief about Solana, and then we'll start building on Solana, okay? So NASDAQ is a big exchange, and there are thousands of transactions that are happening on NASDAQ on a daily basis. But what happens if we have to do the same we have to replicate something on a blockchain. So blockchain actually takes a whole lot of time to really make a change, like really compute a transaction to it. So for example, if I buy a Bitcoin, or for example, if I do a transaction from a Bitcoin or Ethereum, it actually involves multiple nodes while performing that transaction. But in Solana, it's completely different. And for you to understand that, I would highly say that you should know that you should understand what's the history of this, why we are even building on blockchain, and what's the point of it. So if in Hacktoberfest', if you want to really participate into contributing to code towards Solana, just understand what Solana is, and just understand what different kind of web packs you are aware of, and you can understand of, you can contribute to. So just know what the history is, how blockchain works, and in which segment you can work. If you are someone who's intermediate into blockchain, or who has just started into blockchain, try to understand the part where you can contribute to. You can go look at any repository, which we're going to do in future also. Like, we are going to look at any repository, and we're gonna contribute to it, and we're going to start with it. Okay. So first of all, the easiest way to know Solana is, like, we have multiple webs, right? We got started with multiple webs, and it was Web 1, Web 2, Web 3. Okay. So this is quite interesting. So Web 0 was something which is like ARPANET, which was made by the army to communicate with each other and blah 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 stuff. And it was very old, and though it was an initiation, I shouldn't say blah blah blah, but they gave the roots to the internet which we are using today. Now it came to Web 1, and Web 1 was quite ecstatic. Like, Web 1 was just one more layer on Web 0. And it's very interesting that you'll understand more about layer 1, layer 0, and layer 2 in times you would learn more about blockchain. So Web 1 was like, there is no database, there was no architecture involved to it, and there were different static websites. Like, simple, for example, if this is a cap, I put that cap into a database, it's just gonna be a cap. I can just read it. I can know that this cap exists or something like that. And then came the scalability time, which we are kind of running right now. Like, we use Swiggy every day, we use Zomato, we use a whole lot of stuff, right? And which is part of Web 2. Web 2 is quite based on AWS, Google, and GCP. But I think you are aware of what these clouds are. Now, moving on to the third part, where you have decentralization, where you have completely decentralized chains, where you are not retracting data from the user, though the users basically owns their data. So this is what blockchain is, and this is what Web3 is on a very higher level, where you understand that Web3 is not quite different, but quite different. You have to understand the DX is not supremely high, though the DX is very precise in terms of security, in terms of network, in terms of compatibility, and even in terms of scale as well. So that's what Solana is for you. Now the evolution was very simple. Like in Web 1, when you really needed to get to a website, all the DB needed to have your username and password, and they just gave you insight. Like they were like, okay, this person is something we know of. I don't know if you remember the time. There is a website called Team BHP. Do you know of that? I don't know if you guys are car enthusiasts or not. That's a very famous website, right? Like if you know about Team BHP, and there is one guy called Paul Graham, and he has a HTML CSS. He's an OG of startup segment in all over the world, right? So all these websites are actually right now till today you would see that these websites are actually based on just HTML and CSS, and all you can do is read the data out of it. And some of them are like when you go to you will find good universities and you find good university professors, you would see that they have some of their papers are unindexed. So whenever they give the access to you for their papers, like whenever you use things like Springer, IEEE, you would be able to understand that most of their pages are not indexed and that are HTML and CSS based. So see, they are still using it, right? Then it's Web 2. While Web 2 is quite, I say it's quite controversial, because whenever you say, like, for example, if I say AirPods, then I'll be kind of reminiscing to it, right? And you would repeat it on a regular basis. What happens that you see the ads of these specific streams, or see the ads of AirPods or Apple products every day in your feed. And that happens because of Web 2, because companies like I'm not gonna name them, but these companies retract your data, and what they want from you is to make you understand more of a user persona when they create for it. So in that price, you're actually paying the price of your own privacy, or they know what you eat, what you like, where you want to go, and what kind of preferences you are like involuntarily you want to see. And I would tell you a fun part. There are only 2 industries in the world which actually call their end consumers users. Do you know that? So one industry is the IT industry, and if somebody tells me which is the second industry, I guess you'll get a shout out from me on Twitter, or like you're kind of smart. So drop in the so let me tell you, the drug industry also calls it final consumer users. So you have to understand the hierarchy of getting your data retracted. Now coming to Web3, why Web3 is over there, and Web3 is over there, it gives you the advantage of actually interacting with the internet, or actually interacting with web without exploiting your privacy. And this is what different chains are, and this is what blockchain technology is. Blockchain technology is actually the summation of multiple technologies being built together. Call it ZK rollups, L0, L1, L2 chains, multiple things, right? And in this scenario, we are learning about Solana, and Solana is a chain. And on this chain, there are multiple things which are built on it. Now, what is Solana and why Solana, right? Whenever you hear the word Solana, I don't know, the first thing that comes to my mind is the centralized exchange token, which I have bought. And I think that's kind of like, that really reminds me of the point where we see everything in Web3 was built on financial structure and just not virtual machines or software-based structure and infrastructure, right? But this has actually changed, and this has quite moved from this has absolutely moved from passage of time, where we see that Solana is a chain which is actually solving multiple problems for Ethereum, for Arbitrum, and problems which day-to-day chains are facing right now. Mostly, the chains were based on proof of work and proof of stake, right? There are different ways of a consensus. And what's a consensus? We all are consensus. We like, if I say forum for IITJ, that's a different name to keep, but okay. Aptolib and Arnav, Harshvardhan, Ayush. We all can actually make a consensus. Siddharth can be a part of consensus. And once you could be, once you understand what a consensus is, the consensus can actually validate a transaction, and they can also retrace a transaction. So in this scenario, for Solana, and I hope you're aware of titration, right? So there was a time there was titration, and I don't know, because I can see people named Forum for IITJ. So I think you're very much aware of CBSE curriculum, where you actually have to perform titration on, where there is entropy involved, right? As you see that if there is this water and I would add a liquid in this water, there would be stages for it, right? So at the very first stage, when I add something into this water, the the other liquid would dissipate into it. And once I take a time stamp of it, or once I take a shot of every time the water is dissipating more and more, I would understand that I have actually calculated and put a timestamp on every transaction that is happening for it. And once I have to retrace all the transaction, I can easily do it because I have all the transaction timestamped according to at what stage they are in the blockchain. And this really revolves, which is called proof of history. And proof of history is something which is kind of revolutionary, because it comes from part where you can do multiple transactions on the blockchain in very less amount of time, and that involves that is called TPS. So right now, what is a smart contract? Yes, we're coming to that. Let me share something with you. Once you open solana.com, you would be able to see that there are a number of transactions that are happening, and you can see the transaction per second, total number of transactions that are happening, and what is the average cost of transaction in Solana, and also validators nodes, which is helping Solana validate their transaction, right? Now moving to the part that how do you really do it? How do you get started with Solana, and how do you get started with a simple program on Solana? So I would highly recommend you to go with Solana Playground. And once you have Solana Playground, so Solana Playground is an environment which is browser based, and it really helps you to the part where you don't have to involve it locally, and you don't have to install it locally, and you would be able to understand what this is, and you can easily get started with actually building on Solana. There are multiple cookbooks and Solana docs where you could go to, and you could understand how much cadence does it really takes, and you can actually get started with very simple. Give me a second. there is this one Metaplex link I really want you guys to check out, because it's what I feel it's one of the easiest thing you can do. Like, it's super easy to set up and it's super easy to work on. And also this wallet adapter. I think it has a Hacktoberfest' tag. So you can get started on this. And this is the repository which has wallet adapter to it. So we did a small test. How do I share my other screen? Okay, so this application is actually built on Solana, and this has multiple commits which are being made right now. And once we had a physical meet of Hack this fall, I actually told to people to identify what changes they can make and what changes they can actually do. People went from making changes to the folder structure, so they went from tracing it to their last change which has been made so far. And as you can see that there are changes made to it, and there are changes in the documentation for as simple as making changes to the documentation or creating a simple tutorial on how you would use wallet adapter and how you can put it to different coding standards, and how you can understand what are the actual requirements for the project itself. So most of the times you have to understand that if you make a PR, the only understanding of a good PR versus a bad PR is coding practices. The code needs to be clean and the code needs to be optimized. Most of the times what we do is that we rush ourselves into creating a PR, which is quite, I would say, leads to absurdity of the complete code. And you shouldn't do that. You should be very mindful while contributing to a code where you understand what really it requires. So make sure that you trace it down, and this is one of the projects you can do, right? Moving on to the next part where you understand more on what proof of history is. And I hope I was clear enough to making you understand how proof of history works and why proof of history is being used by Solana for you to contribute on it. Solana is an open source blockchain. Like, most of the Solana's code is open source and you can contribute to it. One of the blockers you would face is Rust. How many of you are aware of Rust or have written Rust in their past, or have some intermediate to beginner to intermediate or to advanced level of experience with Rust? You can use the comment section to tell me, and I can help you if you are not aware of it. Now, moving on to what kind of innovations Solana has made. Proof of history is just adding a clock in the consensus, and it has changed how the transactions are taking place. And also, Tower BFT, turbine, sea level, Gulf Stream, right? These sounds like something which is out of the world, but once you understand and once you involve them, like, for example, when I say that if we want a propagation tool, if we want to run multiple smart contracts at the same time, somebody asked me what a smart contract is. So if today we make a smart contract, right? Smart contract is just like a promise, it's just like a pinky promise, and that promise is that which cannot be broken. And you have to be very the contracts are written in Rust on Solana, and then it gets executed on every single node. So in this scenario, for example, if I say this cap belongs to you, right, and I write it on a smart contract, but what happens that if I'm not there, or if I leave the country, and the cap actually belongs to you by the contract, so I could justify you and you would not be able to extradite me. In this cases, you have seen people like Nirav Modi or people like XYZ people running away from taking banks' money. But if bank had a smart contract with these people, it would actually chunk out any wealth from those people to get that money back from where they have actually lended it from. So this is quite interesting, and this is quite awesome when we understand about what Solana is and how smart contract works, right? The next part is the different kind of propagation and also different kind of pool. So for that, you have to understand a bit about Oracle, and we would be covering that in some next part or some other day. The network performance. Network performance is something which I'm actually fan of. As you can see, the number of transaction fees that are happening on Solana is just very low. And once you start building on it, you would be able to understand how do you make a transaction on Solana. And everything is a transaction on blockchain. For example, if I'm speaking to you right now, I'm actually making a transaction. And I am quite successful while doing it. How Rust is better than Solidity. So there is one thing I have learned in my life, and I would really highly recommend you for most of you to understand that there is no language which is better than each other, and or every language has a compatibility and has a use case for it. Understand the use case and understand where the use case really is, and that's it. So Solidity is used for Ethereum-based chains, EVMs, right? So EVMs are something which works on POS and POW, right? So that's quite different from Solana. And Rust has been quite tough to understand to learn. But once you do it, and once you are quite comfortable with it, it would be very easy for you. I guess the last thing, the network growth, what we have seen so far, and how network growth works. So Solana has just grown out like an amazing in terms of thousands, right? Their ROR, like rate on rate growth, is insane. Right now, as when I have given you Solana.com, you can see that there is a whole lot of transactions that are going on right now. So people from storing from NFTs to people are storing they are creating multiple virtual machines and they are building on top of Solana. So Solana, BSC, Ethereum, there are multiple chains, and I highly recommend for you to check it out. Okay, so the last part is accounts. So Solana has accounts where you would be writing code. You would understand that you would be writing in a manner of accounts, and these accounts have the ability to actually speak to each other. Once you have done a transaction and once you have calculated a hash, this account gives you the ability of actually speaking to each other and executing whatever code which is through Rust on their node. In this scenario, the number of lampports owner, executable data, these are different fields once you write a Solana program, and you would be able to identify them in the repository I have given to you. And that repository really doesn't require a great learning curve. All you need to do is understand how you can get started with it and implement it. Oh, shit. I'll tell you a fun part. So there are very less people who have actually been able to completely make things on Solana and propagate it, because Solana comes with a different kind of learning curves. And as you can see, that once you import Wallet Connector and once you understand what Wallet Connector is, you would be able to understand how to execute on this app. And you would be able to see different accounts which say lampports, owners, executable data, and rent. This is a very easy example of how you can get started with one of the first repositories for Solana, and it's quite easy to do. And I would not highly recommend you for making a PR just for the sake of making a PR. Just don't do that. And also, the very last thing I wanted to have on Solana is that Solana is one of the chains which you can start your open source journey with, and there is a whole lot of opportunities while doing it. So there is this one website I came to know about when few months back, and I have been using it for long. And once you open it, my first journey was to understand like how can I use this website, and that was quite interesting in terms of getting my open source journey started. So as you can see that there are multiple bounties, missions, and grants for it, right? And I would highly recommend you to check bounties out. And over here, you can see that there are multiple things which are built on Solana. And as Ferron is going to go live on this. So once Hacktoberfest is over, you can actually go and check all these out. And these are mostly writing, research, and development based open source projects where you can choose from what you have to do. Right, these are different bounties, and the bounty amount is quite great, and they are kind of quick in giving out the bounty amount to start with. And also there are things called instagrants. Instagrants is something which is quite good if you have just started with open source and you want to create your own dApp, and you want to get started with your own dApp. You can start with your application, and also you can start with using instagrants on your day-to-day basis, or just try to make sure that you are able to qualify for this, and your web journey can be actually be paid, and your open source journey can be paid throughout the while you are contributing to it. Also, I cannot stop myself from actually sharing what I do and what I have built, like what we have built. So I work for Spheron, and Spheron is a hosting protocol, and our grant would go live on this very soon. So we are running a bounty and a grant, and you can check it out. And this is, I don't know, I don't want to advocate it without a reason, and I want you guys to check this out and you guys to become actually a part of this. And you can just go and check Spheron out, and you would be able to understand how you can just deploy on Solana whatever you have built in just few seconds. And yeah, it's quite easy to do and quite straightforward to do it. We had a wallet connect to it, but we have removed that. We have involved compute. We have involved a whole lot of things. All you need to do is just click on GitHub, and you can authorize your GitHub, and you're good to go. I hope my password is right. Ah, amazing. It's not. Let me give you. No, I shouldn't. Oh, but I'm kind of scared that you won't be able to see. Yeah, it's fine. And you can just go click on new project, click on GitHub, and you can just deploy any websites in just few minutes. So all you need to click on this. It really retracts your build settings and automatically. And if there is something, if you have involved any environment variables you can add, just go ahead and add it. And all you need to do is click on deploy. And that's it. You're done. And that's, you have pushed something on blockchain. That's quite easy to do it, right? Because this is a dev tool and we are building on top of Solana, and you can check it out once you have completely initiated and made a PR for the Solana repository. So I wish you guys all the best. And one thing I would say, that try to involve yourself in more of innovative stuff, and try to check out things which really requires innovation. Just not because when I was in college, Hacktoberfest just became a thing of getting t-shirts out or getting swags out of things, right? But this is not the case here. You are here to learn and you are here to build. And I guess what really makes you different today, in days of Diwali, you're sitting and you're listening to me, or you're listening to most of the speakers out there, that you're actually here to build. And there are less than 7 days left for Hacktoberfest. So I wish you all best of luck. And thank you so much for having me. Siddharth, I can't hear you.
Whoops. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Just live stream things. I've been back with the live stream after a long break, and I do not have a habit of like turning off this thing. But yeah, I have been turning off and on my mic since morning, and I can totally recall all those virtual memories now. Where I will like just speak and people are like, okay, he's speaking something, but what? But anyways, thank you so much. How do you feel after rushing from the traffic and making it here and then taking this workshop?
I honestly like see whenever I used to be like I started my journey or when I started my professional journey, there were very less people who would actually guide you to do the right thing, and because they didn't know at that time, and I don't blame everyone for that. And there were people, but there were false gods, and I highly recommend there is a I feel that you guys should really read about stuff and educate yourself into understanding what's right for your journey and what's really suitable for you. Try to listen to everyone, but you have to indulge yourself in your own journey. And when I was coming, and I thought that I couldn't make it, so I actually I wasn't in the condition also to drive from 15 kilometers in Gurgaon and make it to the session. But I was quite determined enough that these kids need to know that what they're trying to build and what they're trying to achieve is supremely important. So yeah, I had that in mind and I just drove it, drove it off. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, and we saw it all. So of course there was some behind the scenes which we witnessed, but yeah. Thank you so much, Prakash, for guiding us with all the things around Solana and of course Farron as well. In the end, I'm looking forward to how all the people who have joined us in the live stream or might watch this live stream or the recording of this one later take it ahead this as an opportunity. But having said that, we also are gonna have our breakout room discussion 3 p.m. onwards. We have our own Solana breakout room on our Discord. So in case you haven't joined us over there, do join us. The link is also there in the description, and we'll see you there at 3 p.m. But thank you so much, Prakash. Please take some rest, have your lunch, and I'll see you at 3. Cool then. See you.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye. Perfect. For all the people who are still with us, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And now it's time for us to end this live stream. We are almost there. And I would also recommend you all people to go and have your lunch and get some food in your stomach. I'm also gonna grab my lunch. Um, just a quick thing before we end this live stream. The season 3 pre-registrations have already started, so we haven't announced the registration yet, but we do have announced the pre-registrations. So in case you haven't checked that out yet, or if you are still left with registering or pre-registering, I should say, go ahead on this website hackthisworld.tech and you can already pre-register for the hackathon. The season 3 is going to take place in the month of February next year, which is 3rd and 5th. But a lot of things will come up before that. And I would not want you to miss out on this opportunity because, unlike last 2 years, this time it's going to be in person. So definitely the experience is going on a next level. And I want you all to witness that. So make sure you, along with your friends or team members or your college mates, do pre-register for this. And once the registration starts, we will reach out to you and you can register as well. But anyways, that was pretty much from my end. Thank you so much, everyone, once again. And you can always watch the recording of the entire live stream in case you missed any part of it. You can come back on our YouTube channel and watch it for sure at any moment, anytime in upcoming days, months, years. And of course, anytime means that. But feel free to subscribe to the channel in case you haven't, because a lot of content planned ahead. And pretty much, I'll see you soon. Thanks everyone for joining, and I'll just create this banner as the closing one. Whoops, for joining, and see you on the Discord. So, bye.